Hey, how's everybody going this evening? Just give me a second just to get started here. We'll do the updates on the recent events. Guthrie, how's everybody doing this evening? We have a fun show prepared tonight. Sorry, I'm just texting 1 second. What's up, Rebecca? Hey, Half Pint. I hope everything's well with you. I know, Rebecca. Hey, sorry, I'm just catching up on everybody's chat here. Hope everybody's having a good night. How is the internet in this hotel room? Is this on my end? It looks a little like, does it look like there's like kind of a blue weird background right here against a white wall? Like, am I coming in clear? Oh, let me catch up. Show stages on comments. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Danielle, I'm fine. And you? Yep, doing good. Sorry. Hair looks a little disoriented today. All right, so we have some updates. I also have some kind of interesting stuff that I want to share with everybody. So we have, just to kind of catch up with all the different sources, I kind of write them down for today. Hey, Bundle B, how's it going? So today someone went and put all those pictures in a trash bag today. Crazy. What are we talking about? Michelle, please explain. And if somebody would want to call in too, let's do a call in. But let me read some of the updates really quick that you probably know. Interesting, Rebecca. Okay, guys, just give me 1 second. Let's catch up on everything that I have. A mass suspect at the scene at Nancy Guthrie's home was seen 3 weeks before her abduction. I don't know if everybody's seen that or heard that. I'm sorry, not seen that, heard that. High-ranking cartel killed low-ranking tweakers. So the people, like the cartel that owns the plazas, meaning like the ones that pack the drug mules, right? They have warehouses around that corridor that I showed you on Google Maps. So you have, not everybody is like El Chapo, right? Obviously, El Chapo's at Supermax, but I'm using that as a frame of reference. Not every drug lord or everybody that works for a cartel makes like $100 million a day. So there's a theory running rapid that it could be like a low hanging, like a guy that might be making a few grand a week, packing the mules to transport the drugs. Went after Nancy Guthrie. The cartel found out about it and it's bad press. So they killed, they brought Nancy out, passed away. This is a rumor. So they figured that out and they're like, what is he doing taking Savannah Guthrie's mother? Do you know how bad that would look for the cartel? So then like the higher up cartel people did an assassination, killed all the people involved. That's a rumor. That used to happen in like the Italian mafia. So who's ever seen the movie Casino? Has anybody seen the movie Casino, or am I too old for this crowd? And I can explain. What's up, Diana? So my watch goes off on loud noise. If Nancy couldn't hear very well, they had to be talking loud. Go to her phone. Okay, so yeah, hey Rhonda, what's up? So there's a lot of rumors. Now there's 3 men who moved that they're thinking may have been staging the area and surveillancing it. So we're going to be going through all the Airbnbs right now for rent around Nancy Guthrie's house, which I have that I put up. So all the rental properties we are going to be checking out on this live stream. And then Nancy was hacked, I think, on Facebook. That's another one of the updates for right now. So that's what we'll be running through on this show. We'll wait for a few more people to hop on. Okay, let me show a screen here so it's not just me. So I have a lot of different things that we're going to be going through. So we will read, what happened here? Close that. Okay. Can you hear me okay, everybody? Oh, okay, Michelle. Okay. All right, so we'll go through like some of the Daily Mail, real quick updates. Haunting final footage of Nancy Guthrie on the day she vanished is turned over to the FBI. Haunting footage of Nancy Guthrie riding in an Uber on the day she vanished from her Arizona home has been turned over to the FBI. So that is what was happening today. The Uber driver gave police all the footage captured from inside the vehicle. The crime show revealed the clip has not been released yet to the public. Police received the footage during the early stages of their investigation and have found since nothing of substance in connection to the ride. Now, we already knew that. The mother of three returned to her house just before 10 p.m. Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, gave her a ride home. Nancy was abducted from her $1 million Tucson home in the early hours of February 1st, and there have been no arrests or suspect named. Okay, we'll go through this real quick. Beautiful. Hey, Ted, check out Brian Eden's latest from an hour ago. Pick it up at the 26 mark. Yep, we definitely will. We are going to be looking at Airbnbs. I have them laid out. I have the ones saved around Nancy's house, which ones now are for rent for the people that have moved out, and we can kind of search there too. So there's going to be a lot on tonight. We're going to go through quite a bit of stuff. I said she could be talking to a scammer thinking it was someone else. How fun. Monday, we love Monday in the chat. Untamable, what's up? Everybody's on the chat. Okay, let me just read. We're just going to start out with this timeline for a second. Okay. All right, so let me make sure you guys can see the screen. We're going to just blow through this real quick just to get everybody up to date. Obviously, the suspect, here's the camera, you know, the car, the white Kia that I think they're still saying in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. Here's the camera flying by. It's actually a good video, this particular one. It's multiple cars coming by, I think. Let's see. Yep. Whoa, I've never seen that one before. Hold on. That's where they thought the Kia. That is crazy. So you guys seen the El Charro parking lot, that white Kia I had, and that could be a long shot, but look at this one. This is insane. That's where I was wondering, because the first car, I'm like, there's no way that's a Kia. All right, maybe I'm a little too excited about this. Wait, let me see if I can slow this down. I'm sure you guys have seen this, right? Okay, wait. Let's go through this real quick. God, I'm so obsessed with this. Sorry. Hold on. Oh my God, that's for sure a Kia. Let's just see it one more time. I don't think I can slow this one down, but. Yeah, man, that is a Kia. I wonder if it's related to the El Charro restaurant. That's crazy. And there's a reason why they're showing that twice. There's no way they're showing that twice. That is a unique thing to show twice.
Square has helped me grow and become what I am in this neighborhood. Pono is my greatest creation outside of my children.
Okay, so let's get us kept up. Police believe Nancy was taken from her bedroom. Okay, it's the bedroom. I know a lot of people are disputing that. Inside the property where she had lived since 1970. Investigators found a drop of blood on the porch. We know that. The FBI also released surveillance footage on February 10th that showed a masked man at Guthrie's doorstep. And what was very interesting with that masked man is when he figured out it was the Nest doorbell camera, he knew to go get twigs, and he knew to put those twigs on top of the Nest camera to pop it out really quick. The Nest camera usually shows a key, which we've shown videos of that, and it actually, a twig can actually pop it out. Let's read up on some of the chats. Stacks, what's up? Lita Joe, let's go. The back of the car, she does look like a Kia, the roller skate car. Yeah, it is. I know. One of my friends back in the day has a Kia. He picked me up once in a yellow Kia, and I'm like, for real? I'm going to ride in this with you? I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not passing judgment on anybody, but it was just like a bright yellow Kia. I hope he's not watching. He's probably going to kick my butt if he's watching. You don't hear anything about the car or anything really. Yeah, I know. You hear nothing about the car. And I did call because a lot of the viewers told me to call the FBI tip line. I did call it, got nowhere. I mean, literally you waited forever. I had to give all my information. Then I finally sent in a link. Or no, I finally like pressed a number where they send you a link to upload because I don't want to waste their time. I'm like, hey, there's a Kia parked outside on Google Earth right by Charo's. It's probably a 1% chance it's anything. But I couldn't pick the category. It was like fraud, mail fraud. There was like no kidnapping, nothing. It was drug trafficking. And I'm like, I didn't even know what to select. I selected other. They didn't even have a thing to select for like kidnapping, ransom, or like even like murder. It was very strange. Yeah, the Twig. So Danielle. Yeah, the toaster car. Yeah, so I was in Chicago driving around, and my buddy, his name's Joey. He's a good kid. I love him. It's a cool car. It's just a unique looking car. So if he's watching, got to be careful. Yeah, so with the Twig, and I can show you this if you want to see it. I feel like I showed everybody this, and I don't want to lose viewers by playing it. But let's go on. Watch. Nest doorbell removal. Okay, watch. Ready? This is like a joke. So this is how the guy removed it here. I'll show it for you, Danielle, just for you, okay? Oh, 1 second. Watch how easy this is. It's ridiculous. Now, I showed a lot of the viewers this already, but here. Where am I going? Can you guys see this? No, you can't. Hold on.
It's the tool that came in the box. If you haven't got the tool, find something that's nice and flat.
So here's the tool.
What you have to do is stick it in the slot at the top.
Just stick it in the
goes
slot
in,
at the
and
top.
then you push up.
And you push it with a branch.
It comes off. When you've got it in the slot, which is just there,
think how crazy that is.
It retracts this dimple, which
that's
allows
just
you
what
to
he
pull the doorbell.
I mean, it's absolutely nuts. That's exactly. I wanted to show you, Danielle. That's exactly how he did it. Isn't that insane? Tori, what's up? There's also new reports of a white car sitting in a long period near Nancy's house. Yep. And we also have all the Airbnb for the 3 guys that moved out that they think staged. I can show all the homes right now that are for rent because when the guys rented out the Airbnb, there's ones right by her now that are for rent. So wonder if those are. Let's go on Google Map and try to see what was going on there. Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Of course, I feel like I need to show everyone that because a person that, geez, my hair, I've been working all day. It looks like I look crazy looking at myself. I felt like I needed to show everybody that. Give me 1 second here. Okay, next, let's go back to Daily Mail. I know it might be a little repetitive, but let's just get up to speed for a second while waiting for more people to get in. All right, so blah, blah, blah. Here's the suspect. We've already seen this. So for Danielle, if you see when he goes and grabs the bushes, of course, there'll probably be an advertisement. I probably should just subscribe to the Daily Mail, but I just want to start from the very beginning of the timeline, walk you through, and then we'll go over all the new updates. But here we go. Look at him right there. Look, he's scared because he sees the window, so it's human nature to grab your Glock, right? You're grabbing your gun just because that's just what you do when you're walking up to a window, especially in Arizona, when a lot of people have guns, right? Can you guys see that? Oh my God, you can't even see that. StreamYard. 1 second. All right, let's just go back to this. Okay, he walks up, grabs his Glock, just because he's looking through that window. That window, you're suspicious, right? Okay. He's going back. He tries with his left hand to open the door. And again, sorry if this is repetitive. We're just going through this. Now he's looking for something to jam the nest. He already knows. And if you pause it, if you actually slow it down, you can't slow this down. Now look, he grabs the thing, but right there, he looks at the guy right over there. He looks at the other suspect. And if you slow it down to 0.25, you can see he uses the branch, and the branch unclips with the bite light, which is a mechanic's bite light. You put it in your mouth, and then that's how we got the door open. Oh, I'm frozen. What's up, Alicia Alicia Boyle, what's up? I froze. These Marriotts, I'm telling you, sorry. Okay, now let's get out of this. Okay, so instead, investigators were able to retrieve reduced size still images captured when the cameras were triggered by motion, according to the source. The images themselves revealed nothing suspicious except for what was missing. Investigators were also able to observe people moving around the backyard. That's what we found out today. And side yard at various times prior to the abduction. I personally feel she was abducted on the left side of the home if you are looking forward. I think I did, Half Pint. I promise I will look into that. I had a real busy day today with my job. So I do remember you saying that. And I think I searched for it early this morning when I was on. Look at the light corner. Play that video when he's putting the weeds in the camera. Look in the right corner, a light. Yeah. He lights up the light to see what he's looking at. And then he sees. And then there's also, I showed slides, and I can show it again, of a spotter vehicle. All right, hold on. Let me just catch up here. I'm just trying to play a little catch up. The Guthrie family offered $1 million for the reward. Savannah previously announced the prospect that her missing mom is dead in a gut-wrenching social media video, saying she may be lost. I think the way Savannah looks is she looks disappointed. I think she understands the situation. I think she's coming to grips with it. As much as we want Nancy alive, I still want to keep the faith, but just seeing her face is kind of looks a little disappointed, obviously. Pint, Half Pint, how did things go? Okay, so I want to show you, and I showed this last night, but believe me, I have a lot of new stuff with the Airbnb stuff, because that really intrigues me. All right, so we have the timeline. I showed this last night. We have the perpetrator. So right here, and for some reason, you're not going to be able to see my mouse pad, but look to the photo, which would be, if you're staring at the screen, would be, I think, to your right. The circle photo. Does everyone see the circle photo? If one person could just say, yes, I see the circle photo. I want to make sure it's showing up on the screen. Oh, yeah, your endoscopy's at 2 p.m. Yep, I remember you saying that. Okay, so there is a little light, which looks like, look at a little, God, I wish I could use, can you see my mouse or no? Can you see the mouse pad or no? Sorry, I'm asking so many questions. I should be more prepared, but I just don't understand why my mouse pad can't be seen. No, okay. I wonder if you could get a mouse pad on here. Probably not, right? It's weird that you can't. Let's see. Is there any like magic eraser? Media assets. Let's see. Nothing. Okay, I'll have to figure it out another time. Well, so if you look at the circle photo, you can see there. You can see the front of the photo, right? So if you're about an inch up, it's really bright, which is the vegetation. Then you look a little bit up, more on the right side of the photo, you can see a headlight, and you can almost see a circle, a tire circle. And it took me a while to see it, but this special viewer sent me this, and it really does look like a car. And then we had Gen X actually send me a couple descriptions of the car to match that. And again, I don't want to speculate. I don't want to cause reckless speculation, but this is just something that we've seen. Okay, 1 second here. We have all, we went through all the searches, hundreds of searches. Nancy Guthrie, U.S. Bank. Where does Nancy Guthrie's home? What does Nancy Guthrie look like? How to hack Facebook, which was one of them. A lot of stuff coming from the Grand Junction, Colorado area. And if you remember, the ransom was 12 hours away. So to get to the meat and potatoes of this video is going to be related to the staging scene in the Airbnb that I was able to look up. But right now, again, because there's some new people that just popped in, they have a masked suspect, which I thought was very interesting. 3 weeks, they have footage of a masked suspect surveilling the area 3 weeks before the abduction. And I believe that was sourced from, I want to say News Nation, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. Sources again, cartel high ranking, killing low ranking cartel people, not getting, being a low level cartel person. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Donnie Brasco. It was about a mob boss that could never move up in his ranking. Well, then he got complacent and he started drug dealing. He started doing petty crimes, kidnappings, and the mob, who's worth hundreds of millions, killed him because he killed somebody that was very important. Just like the cartels, kill an American, a famous person's American's mom, that would be a no-no. Then we have 3 men who might have been staging an area for surveillance, and that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. Oh, for sure they can trace those Google searches, but the thing is with IP addresses and how you can mask VPNs these days, it's called bouncing. So you can have a VPN and you can have it bounce 1 million times. Now, the FBI has all different stuff and hackers, and half the hackers in the FBI are hackers that have stolen our data from like Target, and then they hire them at the FBI instead of going to jail for life. So the FBI has people that are professionals at it, but usually an engineer, look, we got somebody hitting the wall because I'm talking too loud. Usually an engineer that is creating a VPN is going to have a bouncing feature. So when you figure out the IP, it's going to go boom, it'll go to Russia, boom, to Japan, 1 trillion times a nanosecond, or I'm sorry, like every nanosecond it flips, it switches. A picosecond, okay, it's 1 trillionth of a second. It goes to a different IP address and you'll never find it. Now there's hackers. I'm not going to get into the whole hacker thing, but it's like hackers versus hackers, right? It's like Bobby Fischer at chess, or it's like, who's the top chess guy? I forgot his name, but it's Gary Kaprizov versus that one guy that's, I don't know, he's in his 30s now, and he's like the greatest chess master ever. So it's literally a game of chess, right? Hackers versus hackers. Okay, so now we're going to go over a few other things. I'm going to play a little quick clip of Ashley Banfield for a second. Oh, and then here, let me just go through this. Layout of her house. That was the car going that way. It was awesome to see the real car. We're going to go over the interactive map. There's me again with the flashlight in my mouth. Somebody proved me wrong. They're like, Ted, you got to use a mechanic bite light. A bite light doesn't have that strong a heat sensor on it. So the Nest camera, so that's my Nest camera. And I've showed this a million times. I'm just saying if someone's new, real quick. The Nest camera versus that guy, a little bite light, which I showed that this morning episode. You put it on your thing. Nancy's Facebook hack reported by News Nation. Okay. Yep. God, what kind of creep? You're hacking an 84-year-old's Facebook. Like, you are a demented individual. Like, I never even think, like, who goes through their day thinking of something like that? I mean, you have to just be like, just no remorse. Maybe you hit the meth pipe too hard and you're brain dead. But I mean, obviously they're sophisticated. They're definitely a handyman. They're definitely wise in the construction trade. Again, not hard to learn this stuff on YouTube. So like the FBI is asking for all the builders, handymans, electricians, subcontractors in the area. But again, remember, like YouTube, we can look up anything. I mean, I was at my mother's house. She's in her late 70s. And everyone, she doesn't have $4 million. Okay. So if there's a ransom, and she'll fight too. She's Italian. So I don't know if you'd want to kidnap her. I'm kidding. I love you, Mom. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I looked up how to replace literally outlets and the set fans in her house. And you think I could ever do that? Never in a million years. I am the worst handyman you could ever imagine. I watched 3 videos. I know to go to Home Depot or Lowe's. I know how to use the little sensor that you plug into the male or the female outlet to tell you if the amplifier, if the energy is not on. And then it literally just walks you through what to do. And that would be like a $2,000 electrician charge, and I can do it. So we understand that there could be a builder, a contractor someone sophisticated in the trades, but also it's tough because you can learn everything with ChatGPT, with YouTube. You can learn how to cheat a polygraph test on YouTube. You can learn anything. I mean, military, CQBs, right? Close quarter combat. Basically how military moves, the CQBs, how they turn and how they operate and the angles. I mean, it's crazy with how we are in today's times. The perp doesn't know how to. Oh, is Alex home? So, okay, so the Wi-Fi jammer, we went through the blood. Okay, this is the key I found, and then I'm going to go back on track of today's show. But this is the Kia at El Charles Restaurant on Google Earth. That was the video I showed in the Daily Mail. And again, I'm being repetitive. This show will not be repetitive, and I can promise you that. I just want to play catch up because that new video on Daily Mail, I've never seen it go from left to right. Okay, and then this is the church. They checked out the people in the church. Now we're going to play just a little tidbit from Ashley Banfield, and then we're going to show the Airbnb. I did a lot of research today. All the Airbnb rentals available right now, monthly and weekly. I think it's monthly. Obviously, they were probably there monthly. Very expensive area. I was shocked to see how expensive it is, but we're going to show all of this. So it's going to be a very engaging show. And then I want to do call-ins. I want to hear people's thought on the case because I really think the people that are watching are usually the smartest people on the case.
I'm Ashley Banfield. This is Drop Dead Serious.
I'll
Thank you
be
so
right
much for
back.
being here. And by the way, thank you for subscribing if you already have.
Definitely
If you
subscribe to
haven't,
our channel.
boop, boop. That's the
Got a
little
billion
button right there.
subscribers.
It's free, it's easy, it's painless, it's fun, and it does me a real solid. Thank you so much. Also, thank you for being a member if you already are. And if you already are, this Sunday, March 22nd, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, going to do a big Q&A. Members only Q&A.
Members only.
If you want to be part of it, just hit that members button and join. 47. It took 47 days to arrest Brian Kohberger. And so here we are in the Nancy Guthrie investigation
wait.
and all
you're
sources.
making me pause this now. Half pint. We are going to be looking at the homes that are available to rent on GPS. I'll be right back, but we have an entire show on which are the homes because you can't find out the homes, but we're going to go through the homes that are closest by her.
Tell reporters and those who are investigating.
Oh, and also for that comment, I know by experience some YouTube videos do not work. My stepbrother, God rest his soul, is in special forces. There is more things on training, on close quarter combat, on surveillance. There is so much information on YouTube that you literally could train yourself to be a soldier, build the firehouses, build the houses like when they breach, how to make, there's a lot of stuff. It's actually almost too much, in my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion, but.
Investigating this case in the media, that there are no suspects. There are no leads that are really hot right now, according to sources. And my sources said not only do they not have any suspects, they don't even have enough evidence to scrape together to satisfy a judge to sign a warrant for a raid or a search, like that may be where we're at. I hope we're wrong. I hope behind the scenes, police are as close as they were on day 46 before they got Brian Kohberger. Because I remember that day, day 46 was my birthday in Brian Kohberger. And I felt like that trail had gone cold only the next day to hear they got him. They got a guy. So let's just hope that right now, here on our own day 47 in the Nancy Guthrie investigation, there may be actually something behind the scenes that we know nothing about. Because the sense of hopelessness is real. Don't say cold, because cold means there are no more leads to chase down. And they had 40,000 at last count, right? Loads of tips. So have hope. You know, Savannah said it enough in her videos that you've got to pray and you've got to have hope. And that's all we can have right now as we go past this Rubicon of day 47, which was my barometer with regard to the Idaho case. So what I decided to do today, because a lot of people I run into ask me questions like, what's the latest in the Nancy Guthrie investigation? Did they ever find the guy? And whatever happened to? And I have found that not everybody has the full picture. Some people were really, dedicated to following the case in the first week or 3 weeks or 5 weeks. And now we're going into like 7, and so I put together a full recap, everything from the beginning, everything that's happened so far in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie in this case. You may know some of it. You may know a lot of it. You may not know all of it. And so today at day 47, I decided it's time just to put the whole case together so that you can get up to speed, because I'm hoping that once you have this behind you, when that arrest comes, you'll know all of it. And when they start dumping out information in those affidavits, right? The search warrants, the arrest affidavits, you'll say, oh yeah, I remember that from day 5, right? So full recap here. You probably remember this. Nancy Guthrie was 84 years old. And that's the kind of person in the business of true crime we call a vulnerable person, right? Nancy's the mom of the Today Show host, Savannah Guthrie, who's been off the air ever since this happened. This case now at day 47, we are about to enter week 8 after this weekend, right? We'll head into the 8th week of this case, which means the story's been unfolding for nearly 2 months. And the deeper it goes, the stranger it seemed to get. What began as just a desperate search, right, for this missing elderly woman quickly became something, well, just way more ominous, right? Investigators treating.
So local PD Monday, you made a great point, is really over its head. Did you see the photo of Sheriff Nanos in a McLaren car? I mean, he's really got it made out good. I mean, this guy. But they do have people. They have a person from 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure when Ashley Banfield put this out, but she's, oh, wow. Thanks, Kim Scott. Appreciate the membership. You're awesome. I know who you are. Thank you. I've seen you on my channel. That's great. Awesome to get a member. There are people. So we're going to go over the Airbnb. So we're going to play this for a second, but I can't say enough. Stay tuned, please, because I wanted to get a little bit more substance on rental homes in the area. Yeah, you can learn a lot. It's crazy what you can learn on YouTube. I mean, duh bears. So I'm just wearing this again. I'm a fan of everybody's team. There's a lot of Ohio people. So come on, Joe Burrow. I know Ohio also are Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So, we had, you guys had Big Ben win all the time. Anyways, I don't want to go off the whole tangent, but I want to get little like teddy bear made. I'm just wearing the B for Teddy's teddy bear. But, yeah, I'm a Bears fan, 40 plus years of losing, could we ever do good? But okay, I better shut my mouth now. Let's talk about the important stuff.
Nancy Guthrie's home as a crime scene, really from the very first hour. Since then, we've seen alleged ransom demands. We've seen a fake extortionist, a guy who was charged in federal court with that charge, with that count, alleged to have been doing this, right? A family put under a police microscope. Dramatic FBI video images that were released of a suspect in a terrifying balaclava at Nancy's front door. DNA recovered from multiple locations and gloves, right? Even DNA recovered from inside Nancy's home. DNA, they don't know. They said it's male DNA that isn't in her circle, but it's tricky. It's mixed. And they're trying to work with it, and they're not getting far. And they got stopped at CODIS, the national database. It couldn't be loaded in there because it's just partial sample, but they're still working on it. We've seen locations that have been tested and retested. We've seen SWAT raids. We've seen gun stores being canvassed, gun store workers being asked questions, look at these pictures and these names, put them into your list, see if did they buy a gun here? And we've seen a lot more than that too. So let me walk you through where the case started, where it's going. And let's start right from the beginning.
January. We got Jane here from Bermuda again. She has used that against us a few times. That must be beautiful being in Bermuda. Oh, would I love to be in the Bermuda. No way, that's really cool. I live 10 minutes from Philly. Yeah, so Philly, real quick, you have Gino's Steaks, but Angelo's Steaks is the best. So if you're in Philly, where you have like Joey Merlino opened up, the Philly mob boss or the ex-mob boss, Skinny Joey's. You have Jim's on South Street. I've been there a million times. I had an apartment right behind there. So yeah, for sure. But you got to be, Monday, Monsters of Midway. Of course. I better stop talking football or everyone's going to leave the chat here. But Philly has real fun markets too, like in downtown Philly that you can go and get a good sandwich and drink. They got all these indoor marketplaces. They have, I'll have to bring in one of my buddies from Philly. I got a lot of buddies from Philly. They're tough though. Very tough.
31st, the night of January 31st. Nancy Guthrie goes to dinner at her daughter and her son-in-law's house, and she takes an Uber. She goes to Annie and Tommaso's house, and she arrives there in that Uber about 5:32 p.m.
I got to take a picture for my Bears
and
buddy.
She has dinner, and the sheriff says, plays games, does the things we do on a Saturday night with our families. But then she gets a ride back home. She doesn't take an Uber back home. She gets a ride. The Pima County Sheriff, a man named Chris Nanos, which is, a name that's pretty much a household name by now, first said that Nancy's daughter, Annie, brought her home. And then he told the New York Times that Nancy's son-in-law, Tommaso, brought her home. And then he told somebody else that Annie and Tommaso brought her home. And then publicly, he decided to just change all of that and say, let's just leave it at family. So family dropped Nancy back at her home. And at 9:48 p.m., he said that her garage door opened. And then at 9:50 p.m., 2 minutes later, that garage door closed. And the sheriff said, presumably at that point, Nancy Guthrie would be getting ready for bed and going off to sleep. But nearly 4 hours later, 1:47 a.m., now it is February 1st. The doorbell camera disconnected. Now, do I know if it's the front doorbell camera? I don't know that. Do I even know that it's a doorbell camera? I don't. It was just camera disconnected at 1:47 a.m., which would make you wonder which one. Because maybe she has plenty, right?
Everywhere I go.
2:12 a.m., software detected a person on camera.
Commercial.
But there was no actual video.
There's still commercials?
So that's very confusing. And then we looked at this timeline and we all thought that's just very confusing.
I'm going to figure this out. I will. So YouTube, after you get a certain amount of subscribers, you become monetized. And then there's a way I can lessen the commercials. And I promise at my 9 p.m. show, I will make sure there's no commercials. I don't know why they're popping up. I don't control it. YouTube takes a lot of money, so even when JLR is boots on the ground working his rear end off, they're taking a large chunk of change from that guy. So I will make sure to limit that better. Sorry. That's not me because I don't see it. They pay once a month and it's like $200. I do this because I love the fans and I love doing this, but I don't do it for the commercials. Now if they're giving me $1 million a commercial, you'll see a commercial every 10 seconds, like the Super Bowl, but they're not. So.
Then at 2:28 a.m., something a lot less confusing. Nancy's pacemaker app showed a disconnect from her phone, presumably the time when she is disconnected from her phone and maybe even from her home. Quick note from my sponsor. Let's be honest, being on camera as much as I am, having the right skincare products matters.
Hold on. Sorry.
OneSkin was founded by an all-woman team of scientists who did for an hour before calling 911. Well, they settled on 11:56 a.m. Family members come to check. And then
no worries.
12:03 p.m., 7 minutes later, they call 911. So that makes a lot more sense. You get there, mom, where are you? You see things, you wonder, what the hell is this?
The Bears head off. I'm not trying to promote Bears football. I'm really not.
They run outside. They wonder if she's in the backyard. Has she fallen? Is she out in the front street? Is she somewhere? And within 7 minutes, 911 help. So a police patrol arrives.
So again, I do have to pause this every so often because you just can't play like Ashley Banfield and like get her views. So I wanted to bring up Monday made a great point. Nancy taking different drivers, strangers are driving her home. My mother, when she visits my house, I don't even make her take an Uber or pick up an Uber like to fly home or anything. And she's 10 years younger than Nancy's mom. And again, I'm not passing judgment on people. I understand when you want to take an Uber, you're tired, or you're like, here's an Uber, just go. Not saying anything bad about Uber, right? Uber's usually part of the case that figures it out, like the Brian Koberger, the Uber driver that dropped off the two, beautiful college kids that lost, their life at an early age. But that's scary. 84-year-old with a pacemaker and Uber, nothing against Uber drivers. I would say the same against taxi drivers. I would say the same against anybody driving that's not family related. My opinion, if my mother wanted to go out and have a couple glasses of red wine with me, I would probably suck it up. Again, I got to listen to her, right? Might be, I love her to death. She raised me. She's the strongest woman I know. It might be a painful dinner, right? They get older. It's like, I wish I could have a cocktail myself just to be at the dinner, right? They're acting kind of rude to the waiter or waitress. They're asking what's in the sauce, what's in the ingredients. You get older, you earn that right? The longer you're on earth, you earn that right to kind of ruffle people's feathers. Well, when you're the passenger, it's not as fun. So it'd be nice to have a cocktail to kind of ease the pain of what she's putting the wait staff through, right? Especially when the food comes out. Like, what am I eating here now? That's what I prep her. I say, well, Mom, why don't we just act nice until the food comes out? Because I don't know what we're going to be eating here with what we're saying. Hint, hint. But anyways, like I'm saying, moral of the story, Uber, I'm not a big fan of late at night for parents. Be disciplined enough. Suck it up. Know your night is ruined. That Saturday night is probably ruined, and you're going to have to drive home your 84-year-old mother. Suck it up. Again, not passing judgment that people take Ubers. They're perfectly safe. They're perfectly fine. That's my opinion. You kind of got to suck it up. It sucks to suck it up. Don't get me wrong. You want to have those drinks. You're dealing with an 84-year-old. They're sore. They're complaining, or they could be, bright as a flower. Who knows? But on a Saturday night, you want to have a couple drinks too, right? You don't want to have to go drive someone back and, DUI or anything. So I can see both sides, but I've taken my mom out when she wants to have a good time and have a few cocktails, and I kind of suck it up. Maybe I'll have one beer tops, maybe one beer and a big burger and fries. But even one beer, these corrupt cops these days, and I have buddies in law enforcement that'll tell me, one beer, they'll still get you. You still blow over a point, so it's not even worth it. You can be on cough medicine and get a DUI. So anyways, I'm blabbing, but.
13 minutes later, 12 minutes later at 12:15 p.m. Okay. From the beginning, law enforcement made very clear that they did not believe this was a case of an elderly woman just, wandering off. Nancy's purse was still inside the house. Nancy's wallet was still inside the house. Nancy's cell phone was still inside the house. Nancy's vehicle was still inside the garage. And the sheriff assured everybody that this was not a woman who didn't have her wits about her. They said she was as sharp as a tack, right? She was not somebody suffering from any kind of cognitive decline. And then he added something else, gave you the physical picture of Nancy Guthrie, and said that she wasn't in the best health. She could not walk more than about 50 yards on her own.
Oh, okay. Wait. I'm sorry.
And then he brought down.
Rebecca has something. Forgive me. That wasn't the deal, Ted. They had Uber pick her up. Oh, okay. Okay. That's not as bad. That's fine with me. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry then. I totally disregard that whole segment then, because pick her up and take her to the restaurant. She gets there. It is a little weird, but the Uber driver doesn't know you're Nancy Guthrie or Savannah Guthrie's mom. And you can, with the ID, link it. That's a gamble I'd be willing to make. If you're driving her home, you're doing the right thing.
The hammer and said she needed very important medications, and that without those medications, it could be fatal. 24 hours without those medications, and it could be fatal for Nancy Guthrie. So now she is separated from her home, her medications, and the clock is ticking. So search and rescue efforts launched really hard and fast. First, there were like canines and helicopters and drones and ground crews, and there were deputies everywhere. But almost as quickly as the search effort started, that search came to a grinding halt on day 2. Day 2, the Monday after the Sunday disappearance. The sheriff said this was no longer primarily a search mission. He basically drew down on the search, said that part was kind of over, and instead called this a crime scene. He said that the air assets, the searchers, they would all step aside unless they were needed again. Made a lot of us look askance. We were thinking, what? It's been like 30 hours since the report to 911. Like, that's pretty quick to be calling off a search, right? Even if there's a crime scene, like, there still might be something around the house or, out in the back in the desert brush or down the road or, I don't know, in some of those drainage culverts or washes, as they call them in Arizona. But nope. Sheriff seemed to know something we didn't know. The decision has haunted this case ever since. A couple reasons why. First and foremost, the sheriff, I don't know, a week or two later would say, yeah, maybe that wasn't what I should have done. I'll fall on the sword on that one. My bad. My words, but effectively his message was, okay, maybe I made a mistake.
Really? Yeah, I do not know about
releasing the crime scene, calling off that search, doing that all so early. Maybe that's on me.
You know what? I do want to say, I don't know him well, right? But I do want to say, like, when you get to that level of people that know you, there's going to be a certain amount of people that try to dig up things that are false and maybe not true. And I don't know what Nancy Grace was talking about. I don't know if it was good or bad, but like the guy works his butt off. And, I think, it's when you get to that level of being on top, I think of it like Michael Jordan, right? People hated Michael Jordan. They made up rumors, they said things, and that's kind of how things happen when you're on top. That's kind of what happens when you're on top. When you're like on the bottom, not saying like people are on the bottom, but I'm just saying, when you don't, he's got so many subscribers, so many people know him, he's going to be a big topic of conversation. And there's going to be, that's when you're going to have to get a lawyer and do things. And if people are trying to go after you because they want to take him, they want his position, they're jealous and they're envious. And I don't need to tell you guys that, but I'm just saying, so if something like that could have happened, it could just be a jealous person.
Right. But also it signaled that the investigators saw something inside that house that pushed them away from a rescue mindset and toward something a lot more sinister. They weren't telling us, but they knew something. Curiously, at the same time, the sheriff also publicly stated that roughly 30 hours after Nancy disappeared, there was no immediate danger to the community. Nothing for any of the neighbors to be concerned about. That message is a hell of a cry from where the sheriff is today. 7+ weeks since this whole tragedy began. That really changed. I will get to that. Everything in line.
Yeah.
The first major details
said
about
he was Adam Lanza's uncle. No. Wait. I got to get his back on this. He was trying to get into, okay. He may have stretched the boundaries with that, but he was trying to get into that school to find out more information about what was going on when I think it was Sandy Hook. Was Sandy Hook, Adam Lanza, one of those horrible child massacres? And what he really was doing, and again, reporters are going to kind of stretch out of bounds to get what they got to get to. If you notice, a lot of them are pretty ruthless because that's just kind of their MO and what they got to do. I'm not saying that's the right thing, but he did that trying to get more information because they were blocking him. I remember that. And I understand I wouldn't do that, but I understand why he did that. There was a logical reason. I've been in sales a long time, right? A lot of businesses kind of push boundaries to get what they need to do. So to me, I chalk that up to like a business move. And that may sound twisted to the normal person, but I've been in business for 25 years and I've seen very bad stuff go down, right? Like business is pretty cutthroat. A lot of people trying to eat, it's eat or get eaten. And he was doing that. I remember because the news made a big deal about that, which I know that from like a closed lens, that sounds bad. But like he was trying to get more info, just trying to get past a gatekeeper. So like think you're in sales and you're trying to get an appointment and you have the front desk person and you're going to say whatever, right? I might say, hey, I have a meeting I can't make. It had to be rescheduled, but I'm going to put it back on the books. He wanted it at this, just these little like gray things, even though, it's about death, that kind of makes it a little weirder, but that's like getting by a gatekeeper in sales, like saying what you got to do to get to the next thing, to get to the answer, because he was just trying to figure out what's going on in the case. And again, I'm not defending him. I have no right. He doesn't pay me. I'm just saying, being in sales, I've had to stretch the truth a little bit. When you're in the business of true crime, it gets a little worse because we're talking about violence, right? But like in business, real estate deals, people, when you put your house up for sale, right? And you have a real estate agent and they say, hey, I can sell this even before we list it because she's talking to 5 people, even though she signed something, say she shouldn't, that can get you an all cash offer now. And you lose the bidding war because she's doing stuff behind the scenes. So it's kind of a salesmanship more, even though it's true crime. So it makes it sound kind of mushy and gushy. My opinion on it, I personally wouldn't do it, but I've seen that happen. I've seen that play out in different businesses.
The sheriff's second press conference on day 5. And Sheriff Nanos confirmed that blood droplets that we had seen outside of Nancy's front entrance, and we'd only seen them because Brian Enton was able to walk up to the house because the sheriff released that
I'm not saying it's right. Okay.
On Monday.
Definitely not saying it's
and
right.
And videotaped
it's not right.
Blood droplets at her front door. We didn't know whose blood, but the sheriff at that press conference on Thursday, day 5, confirmed that that was Nancy's blood. Brian Enton wasn't the only person who saw those blood droplets. Michael Ruiz from Fox Digital also spotted that.
Another thing too, I wanted to bring up Megyn Kelly, which I respect Megyn Kelly. She's had a tremendous career. She is putting out stuff. I kind of get jealous of like the big media. That's why I like to support like Mark the Shark, Dad's Gone Live, 857 Tucson, Criminal Network. There's like the Prof of Delphi. There's another one, Victims News Online, because the prep work involved in these shows, JLR, is so difficult. And like, I get so jealous of Megyn Kelly, even though she's a beautiful, smart, sophisticated woman. She literally just gets her own producer to write everything. And then just bam, every single source just goes to her. And believe me, she puts the time in, but I just get a little jealous of that. Because I'm like, wow, I'm more like amazed by how quick they can get information. And when you have a small content creator, but again, that's life, right? From being on top and trying to get on top, that's the difference. But it's just like, I see people out in the trenches working their butt off, and you can't possibly put together and video edit and have the right angle and image and light and look like that. There's just so many moving parts. It's just, I get envious. I get a little jealous of that because I'm like, man, she can just pump it out. I've never seen her care so much about true crime. It's usually politics, but God bless her, right? To each his own.
That blood trail right after the sheriff released the home as a crime scene. The sheriff would also eventually say other biological samples have been collected and are being processed. And sources told me on day 3, 2 days before that second press conference, day 3, Tuesday, that at this scene, the back door had been left wide open.
Yeah, I don't know.
That there were signs of forced entry.
Sorry,
the sheriff would not publicly confirm that. And that same high-level law enforcement source told me that there were multiple Nest cameras that had been smashed, that there was blood found inside the home, and that police had turned their attention towards Nancy's son-in-law as a suspect. And that same source also told me on day 3 that police had towed the car belonging to that man's wife, Nancy's daughter, and that the car was, quote, in evidence. On day 5, the sheriff confirmed that the car had indeed been towed, adding that it had been processed under a warrant. And while he refused to confirm which door may have been used to gain entry to Nancy's home, he did confirm that investigators did not have the front doorbell camera, that it was, quote, not in their possession. And we would eventually learn that the camera was indeed a Nest cam, one among multiple Nest cams at Nancy's home. Also on day 5, the sheriff refused to rule anyone out in their investigation. In fact, the sheriff said Everybody had to be looked at. The Uber driver, the gardener, the pool person, everybody. He emphasized that the family had been cooperative, but again, he stopped short of a sweeping, edict that everybody had been, or that anybody had been, swept off the table in those first days and, in fact, first weeks. Behind the scenes, a so-called
great point,
ransom letter was sent on day 3 to the national media outlet TMZ,
right back.
and also to 2 local TV stations in Tucson. They also received copies. And that ransom letter demanded $4 million in cryptocurrency with a threat that if that amount wasn't received on a deadline, it would rise to $6 million after the deadline passed. So police said that one ransom communication contained details that appeared to match some of the known facts in the case, like references to things like an Apple Watch, where the Apple Watch was located in the room and in the house, and also a floodlight that was smashed. They took it seriously because of those things, and I know what you're thinking. A lot of the videos showed that the floodlight was smashed, right? And a lot of us keep our Apple Watches, on our bedside table. So was that really such a good reference? Was that really so critical? Was that really something that should lead us to take those ransom letters seriously? Well, they did. FBI and local law enforcement alike. Here's the problem, and it's a critical problem. There was no proof of life. There was no established communication protocol. There was no continued verified contact after that original letter came in. But later, more messages surfaced, seemed a little different, but they included one that demanded a single Bitcoin, which amounts to about tens of thousands of dollars. And still later, even more communications, swapping out the kind of cryptocurrency being demanded, right? Kind of sounded like people were just piling on, scammers from overseas, the ones that have
slide door or back
millions
door.
of dollars that a Nigerian prince wants to
That's
give you.
for president. Holy cow,
number.
we're really going off the deep end. No,
in the middle of all of that chaos, federal prosecutors made a big announcement. They charged a man in California, a guy named Derek Kalela, however you pronounce Derek's name.
I'm definitely going to check out Brian Eden. I just want you guys to know, you do have to legit pause it every 30 seconds to a minute. I can't just keep this thing running with News Nation. Now, public news outlets go under the Fair Game Act, but you have to be very careful. You have to talk, you have to review. So I do have to stop it. I love Brian Enton. He is everywhere. I just want you to know, when we're playing it, I want to show you the Airbnbs, and I want to show you where the people may have been staged. But I definitely want to show Brian Enton. Believe me, that only helps me. That makes it easy on me. And the guy's wonderful, just like Ashley Banfield's wonderful. JLR's wonderful. He gave me permission to share his, when he was there. Criminal Network's wonderful. But you got to be cautious with these bigger news networks. Even though the bigger they are, they don't really care when you're small, but you got to chime in like I'm doing.
Accused him of sending fake ransom communications to the Guthrie family and then trying to profit from their agony. This was one of the first concrete arrests connected to the case, but not because he had Nancy, because according to investigators, he was a fraud, just a fraud. That case is coming up. You wait. Hope they have cameras in that courtroom, but it's federal, so they won't. So we'll just have to get a sketch artist, if it ever gets to court, because this one I could really see being a settlement. Publicly, law enforcement never said that they believed those messages were authentic, even though in one of Savannah Guthrie's Instagram videos, she told the alleged ransom seeker that she would pay, but she wanted proof, and that proof never came. As the investigation continued, Nancy's security cameras, those quickly became the biggest mysteries in this case. Early on, the language was all over the place. There were questions about whether the cameras had been removed or disconnected or smashed or tampered with or taken. Right? Sheriff said the cameras were, quote, removed, said the timeline reflected they were disconnected. But that over time, investigators would try to recover whatever residual imagery they could from those systems, given that Nancy did not have a subscription to a service that would save her Nest Cam videos. And then later, he came out to say, can't do it. We went to the providers. They can't do it. So sadly, there'll be nothing. We won't get any video. Well, watch this space. In a moment, you'll find out why that was wrong and why we got what we got. By Feb 5, law enforcement was openly acknowledging that investigators were digging into a series of digital trails. They were looking at social media, bank activity, phone activity. They were canvassing for surveillance footage all over the place, like going out 2 miles. FBI agents visited a Chevron and a Circle K.
Yes, Nancy,
Those
me too.
establishments
Nancy Grace since the 80s
between
with
Nancy's
OJ.
home
Yep, I agree.
and her daughter Annie's home.
90s.
But that
yeah,
same day,
90s.
the sheriff said
OJ.
no suspect had been
If the blood doesn't
identified,
fit, must have
but no
quit.
one had been ruled out,
I remember
and that the
Bronco
family
driving
remained
on the highway.
cooperative.
God, I must have been like,
And still,
I was before my
late at
teenage
night,
years, but I remember being at my buddy's house
investigators
watching
went
O.J.
in
Simpson.
to Nancy Guthrie's daughter's
Marsha
home,
Clark.
Annie and Tommaso's home. And as
It was even before the
reporters were outside
Kardashians.
wondering
That was
what
the
in the dickens they were
Kardashians'
doing in there in
dad,
the
before
dark,
everybody-
they saw
it's crazy.
flash bulbs going off, photographs being taken for 3 hours. They saw packages being taken out of the home and put into a
You made an excellent point. Our phones are always listening. 1,000% they're always listening. From the advertisements you get, from if you watch the Edward Snowden documentary 10 years ago, they're listening even when technology was way weaker. These phones are listening, spying on us. If they're turned off, they're still on. They're always recording us. Even landline phones now, they got recording us, but 1,000%. I mean, just the other day, I was looking at something to buy, and I was talking to one of my good friends, and literally right when I got off the phone call and I went to check my email, boom, I had an ad of what I was wanting. I mean, it's crazy, the state of surveillance. It is going too far. I do believe in protecting U.S. citizens from terrorism, but for how far they've stretched the boundaries on that is very scary.
law enforcement vehicle, mail being taken out of the daughter's mailbox, put into an envelope, taken away. Lots of suspicion. Neighbors of Annie and Tommaso being canvassed. Searches going on around the neighborhood of Annie and Tommaso's home. Reporters were getting very, very curious. Then came one of the biggest bombshells in the entire case. On February 10th, that's 10 days after Nancy vanished, the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, released some absolutely...
I can have a whole show on this. Vacuum cleaners, okay, those robo vacuum cleaners can give GPS signals back to even China. Yeah, smart appliances. I mean, never use like an Alexa, right? Like you have an Alexa sitting on your dinner table, and then you have a bad guy go, "Hey, Alexa, unlock the front door," and they just go, "Eek." Yeah, I mean, smart appliances. I mean, everything. We are in everything surveillance. They control the weather, right? You guys heard of the HARP, right? How we can control weather by planes and the big HARP. I forgot what state it's in. It can cause catastrophic weather in different sides of the country if they want. I mean, it is absolutely insane. Yeah, it's forbidden to my house too. No way are we doing Alex.
Terrifying images from Nancy Guthrie's Nest doorbell cam. I remember a friend of mine sending me the video and the image and saying, "Oh my God, Fargo." If you've seen the movie Fargo, you'll know what I mean. The terrifying image of the man with the 3-hole balaclava coming to kidnap someone's wife, right?
That's true too. Driving a older car, yeah.
It felt so frightening. It showed the suspect, this intruder, right, fumbling outside of the front of Nancy's home. He appeared to be a...
Oh, and also I sell in Fargo. They don't go "a dare, ooh dear, 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 dear." If you watch the Fargo series, no one talks like that in Fargo. That's northern up by Grand Forks and higher up by the Canadian border. No one sounds like Billy Bob Thornton, or not Billy Bob Thornton, but all those characters. No one in Fargo. I've sold in Fargo a bunch of times. No one sounds like that. You have to be basically on the Canadian border to get that "ee dare, ooh dare," like that, like kind of lingo. That's not in Fargo.
Man, about 5'9", 5'10", average build, wearing dark clothing, including this frightening 3-hole balaclava covering his face. In several of the images, he could be seen carrying what was later identified as a black 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker backpack. Those are sold by Walmart. Several images also appeared to show that he had a firearm, crudely affixed in a holster right in the front, in a strange place where most people don't holster a gun.
Oh, hey, I got a quick question for the chat, real quick, unrelated. Why can my son's eyes unlock? How weird is that? Think of that. Do anyone have kids where their son's eyes unlock their cell phone with face scan? That is creepy. I mean, I love my son, but I'm just saying, like, whoa.
But in another image, something very curious appeared. What looked like the same person.
Half pint, I'm a Chicago Italian. When I went to Fargo, I'd be the first person to joke about accents. No one sounds like that. And I've sold many medical devices all over Fargo. No one sounds like that. Now you go through Grand Forks and further, then you do. But Fargo, no way. They don't sound like, they're not going to sound like someone probably in the South, but they're not going, oh, there, don't you know there? Like if you see the Bob Dylan movie, that great actor who acted like Bob Dylan didn't sound like that. I mean, I thought it was like just crazy. So I'm not even defending them because I'm from Chicago. Like you can tell my accent, right? Chicago. Fargo does not go, hey there, ooh there, yeah there. It just doesn't work. Like that.
But appearing without the backpack and without the gun and holster. And that immediately raised a lot of questions online about the sequence of the images and the timing and whether or not those images were even from the same date.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Investigators later
reached
out to and worked with Walmart and other retailers.
Like, no way, go to hell.
Obviously, they were trying to isolate who may have bought that Ozark Trail hiker backpack. But by early March, the sheriff was saying even the backpack may not have been purchased at Walmart. Maybe it was secondhand.
Who cares where it was purchased?
Maybe just not a direct purchase from the store itself, right? Really deflating because it just seemed like such a good lead. We have found so many people based on purchases and cameras on the, the checkout lines. Didn't look like that was going to happen here. And on the very same day that those haunting videos of the suspect were released,
very true.
Investigators also raided a family, their car, their home in Rio Rico, about an hour south of Tucson. A man there was detained and questioned. His home was tossed and searched. Parents taken out, everybody taken out. And the operation was like massive. It was huge attention. We were all following it live, right? But he was later released. And the sheriff described him as a delivery person whose digital footprint had placed him, quote, in the area of Nancy's home. The sheriff also said more than one issue had led investigators to that man. And he fit the bill, right? He was about the same height, build, had the goatee that you could kind of see under the balaclava. But it would not be long before the sheriff said he was satisfied with this man's alibi. So no arrest. More importantly, no Nancy. But then just 2 days later, Feb 12, activity intensifies
doing
again.
The Airbnb soon.
FBI agents are back at Nancy Guthrie's house overnight, right? And then in the morning, a white tent goes up over the front entrance at her front door. And, reporters can zero in and they can see guys carrying high-resolution camera equipment and a forensic height board. All that is going into the white tent. And this is also the time that Michael Ruiz of Fox Digital reports that when he had been on Nancy's front entrance videotaping, like Brian Enton had done, he witnessed small glass fragments on the ground at Nancy's front entrance just below where the doorbell cam had been. So did this support the information that my source told me that cameras had been smashed? Good question. Sheriff still won't confirm it. Eventually, that white tent came down a couple of hours. And those investigators disappeared, but there was something missing. The bracket on the front door that had once held that Nest cam, right? The Nest cam was gone, but the bracket had still been up there. And now suddenly it was gone too. So presumably by those investigators who were under the white tent. But weeks after Nancy had vanished. Why now did they decide to take that bracket? Why didn't that go the first day? If the homicide investigators were there and they saw blood at the front door, why didn't you process a lot more at that front door? And you saw that Nest camera was gone, glass fragments below. Maybe it was smashed off, but what the hell? Why wouldn't you take the bracket? And for the love of God, why wouldn't you take the half moon welcome mat? It's still there, to my best of my knowledge. Then police made a very broad request of Nancy's neighbors. They asked for doorbell camera video and surveillance camera video from all of the neighbors within a very wide range of dates and going out a couple miles. First, they asked for anything that could be seen on a doorbell camera on January 11th and anything that you may have witnessed with your own eyes. Anything weird January 11th? And we were all trying to figure out why January 11th. Get to that in a minute. Then police began to broaden their request of the neighbors, and they asked for all of their video and anything that might have been weird that they might see on their videos between January the 1st all the way through February the 2nd, like a whole month. And then they began to revisit all the neighbors' homes and ask more questions, looking beyond just the hours of the abduction itself. And then came the gloves. The story of the gloves, that one took days out of our lives. A pair of gloves was found roughly 2 miles from Nancy's home, side of the road. And this became one of the most important pieces of evidence.
Do we want to finish this? Do we want to skip the Brian incident, and then do we want to do the Airbnb?
Soon,
what do you guys want to do?
Investigators
We can ride this
developed
out for a little
an
bit longer.
unknown male DNA profile from those gloves. Why did we care about those gloves on the side of the road? Well, for one, they resembled a pair of gloves that was seen on the suspect in the doorbell footage.
And there's Ted After Dark later,
so that
too.
profile was put into CODIS. That's the National DNA Database that basically looks at all offenders whose DNA profiles have been uploaded so that anytime they commit a crime in the future, we can find them if we have their DNA. But on this case, sadly, there was no match. So whoever had been wearing those gloves and inserting his DNA into the fingers, etc., he wasn't the criminal. He wasn't a criminal according to CODIS, and he certainly wasn't the criminal that they were looking for at the Nancy Guthrie home.
Untamable, is it
criminal in there because they had actually found unknown male DNA inside that home as well. And the gloves didn't match that either. So there were other reports, right, that had come in that a pair of gloves had been found inside Nancy Guthrie's house. And oh my God, that was kind of earth-shattering, but it was wrong, unfortunately.
Also, everyone, please.
And Sheriff Nanos later had to clarify that report was just wrong. There were no gloves found inside Nancy's home. As for the DNA found inside the house, well, that was a little bit more tricky. It was male DNA that did not match with anyone inside Nancy's close circle.
Okay, we're going to Eden here. Hold on a second, everyone. I tried to make the show more question and answers, like just replaying people's videos. But let's check this out real quick. It's a 26 marker, you said? Okay, hold on. Let's see what he has to say, and then I'll finish it.
What happened to Nancy. And it's interesting with Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, in his last interview he did, he said that they even have a theory that they've had for a while, but he wouldn't say what it was. There was some reporting weeks ago that the Sheriff's Department theory, the working theory, may have been a burglary gone wrong, though that's never been confirmed. And that's always a theory that I've had a hard time wrapping my mind around, because why would whoever did this take Nancy Guthrie away if this was just supposed to be a burglary? If something went wrong when they were in the house, why wouldn't they have just left Nancy there? I've never really been able to wrap my mind around that. And this episode is really interesting because it explains why this is likely not a burglary gone wrong, and why this is likely a targeted abduction. Granted, we don't know. I mean, we don't know.
All right, you're back.
Obviously.
Oh, Casey
But
the King is in the house.
In this episode, I'm going to lay out for you everything we do know, and some of it starts to make a little more sense. I'm joined now by Morgan Wright, and I want to read your whole bio, Morgan, just because it's so impressive. CEO and founder of the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases, editor and host of Crime Reconstructed Substack and podcast, which I love your Substack, by the way. You're also a senior advisor in the U.S. State Department Anti-Terrorism Assistance Program, senior law enforcement advisor for the 2012 Republican National Convention. You taught behavioral analysis at the National Security.
Half Pint, wish you a very successful day. Prayers are with you. You'll do great. And check in with me after it, okay? Have a good night. Have sweet dreams.
Internal affairs, just for the cops listening out there.
Yeah. Good to know. And you were in Tucson, was it a couple weeks ago?
Well, actually, no, it was when the raid went on, you and I were talking. So when they did that raid, it was just, I think, a couple weeks into it. So I was out there, as they say, with another network. But it was great because you had, and Brandon, you know, too, that's one of the most important things you do. You just can't report on it from afar. One of the things that made you so effective. And look, let me tell you, even on these other networks, people were referencing your reporting because you were out there, you were in the midst of things, you were getting information. If you're not on the ground and you don't understand how the roads are, you don't understand how the community is, you don't understand how hard that desert is out there, it gives a whole different complexion to the reporting. So it was important to be out there. And with your reporting, it's important to actually be on the ground. I even followed when you drove into Mexico to show how easy it was to cross the border.
Yeah, and you're right. Unless you're there, it's such a unique kind of landscape, and Nancy's neighborhood is so unique. I wanted to start off asking you, though, the sheriff in his last interview said that they have a theory of what they think happened, and he won't say what it is. And you've been studying this case since the beginning, and like you said, you've been to Tucson. What is your working theory right now? I mean, some people have said burglary gone wrong. Other people think it's a kidnapping, maybe something related to Savannah Guthrie, a stalker. What's your working theory?
So one of the things I do on the Substack, but I walk people back. I don't have theory. What I have are hypothesis. And the reason I say that is, and I've seen this happen, and you've seen this happen too, Brian. I've seen this happen in big cases. It starts with, well, we have a theory, then a theory becomes what we know, and what we know becomes the narrative. And I will tell you the biggest failure of that, I was in D.C., in Northern Virginia, not only for 9/11, but the D.C. sniper. And the narrative was, it was a white panel van.
DC sniper,
totally wrong.
Guys,
they got it all wrong.
This might be a young group, but I was a young man driving around when the DC Beltway sniper, remember that? He had the little hole in the back of the trunk and he was shooting people at gas stations. That was scary.
Blue Chevy Caprice. So the reason I say that is I test some theories, and I get that they might have a theory, but I think they confuse theory with hypothesis. Sometimes they get theory, but here's mine. And I wrote a Substack on this early on. And having investigated missing people, kidnappings, burglaries, robberies, homicides, when you look at this case, Brian, it's only one of two things. Either it's a burglary that went wrong, or it was never a burglary. And if it was a burglary gone wrong, then the biggest question you have to ask is what conditions existed inside the house to where somebody that was there to commit a property crime primarily decided it was less risky to kidnap somebody than it was to just flee. And then I think that's the thing where we're missing, which I know you'd love to get inside. So would I, that when the crime scene happened, what does it actually look like? What did the bed look like? Did it look like Nancy got out of bed versus was she dragged out of bed? That's the difference between a confrontation in the bedroom or somebody that gets up. So, I mean, here's the thing I boiled down to. Over time, I was saying the quiet parts out loud. Even on, I remember being on with you and Elizabeth Vargas. We were talking about this. I said, it's not at some point you have to realize it's not a missing person anymore. We have to realize Nancy was 84 years old, cardiac compromised. You violently confronted at 2:00 in the morning in your own home. We know it's violent because there was blood. Whether they said, well, she was taking Coumadin, it doesn't matter. You still got blood.
I did well, I got up a little late. I was supposed to get up at 4 a.m. I did the 4:30. I think it was 4:30, maybe 5. I did 5 to 7. looking for any new updates. And then we do our nighttime thing. I had to sell all day, race to the hotel room, find all the new news, saw what JLR was doing, saw what all the like live people were doing, making sure that there wasn't any breaking news. Cause I have like a car charger where, you know, if I had to like pop up my phone and go live immediately, you know, I was hoping, you know, there'd be good news. Maybe we find Nancy in the event, but if that doesn't happen, then I had an extra 30 minutes to get to the hotel room and write down an agenda for the show. And then sometimes this is a little bit of filler. People requested Brian Ented, Untamable wanted to see a certain segment of this. So then that helps me where we stretch it out a little bit longer. You can hear some good bullet points, and then we can bring in the Airbnb because I integrated it with Google Maps, and then I have another thing. So anyways, that's a long-winded answer.
Still forced out of your house. That's a violent confrontation. So my question was, I realized everybody said, hey, well, we wanted, you know, we're hoping for her return. I'm more of a pragmatist. It's like you have to be left brain, right brain. When you investigate stuff, you have to compartmentalize. I'm more like, I said, you need to treat this as a no-body homicide because it tells the public something different about what you're looking at and where you're looking for things. If I'm looking for a missing person, then if I'm up in the Catalina foothills or the Sonoran Desert there, I'm not looking for anything out of place. I'm just going, oh, this case is going on, but it's a missing person, as opposed to when we have a no-body homicide, we're looking for clandestine grave sites, open grave sites, concealed grave sites. Things that when you're out walking in the foothills, you need to be looking for these kind of things. So for me, over time, I've gone from initially, you say either it was a burglary that got wrong or it was never a burglary. And if it was a targeted abduction, then you have to look at entry, control, and egress. And so over time, I've moved away from, you know, being on the fence, going, waiting for information to come out. But the longer it goes, Brian, I think if I were testing a hypothesis, the one I would be testing is a targeted abduction. Why? Because the tradecraft, just the sheer logistics, the mechanisms of control. When you target somebody for abduction, you have to have transportation, you have to have logistics, and it's going to take two people. I really believe, based on the evidence, you know, and I've tested my own hypothesis, there had to be two people there for this to actually work. And how do I know that? Well, the one thing I'd love to have inside the house, Brian, that I don't have is access to see, was blood pooled inside the house? In other words, was she targeted? Was she restrained to where blood dripped down? Or did it come out of the house and right to a vehicle? Because you've seen that the blood stops. So long roundabout, but I wanted to give the foundation to say, the longer this goes on, the more it appears to be a targeted abduction. That, to me, it's a targeted abduction that went wrong. They were expecting her to survive. She didn't survive. And that's why very quickly, that's why there's been this whole thing about TMZ and the ransom notes. I call those parasitic communications. I never believed those from the first day because they don't have two things, either proprietary information or proof of life. So they didn't demonstrate no communication channel. So over time, I know nobody wants to hear it, but I'm an investigator. I'd love to say that there's hope out there, but in reality, this is a no-body homicide right now.
So you think targeted abduction? That's your hypothesis?
Yeah, I would say if I were going to test something and really start putting weight behind it and start tasking people to say, here's what I want you to go out and do, it's okay, let's look at targeted abduction. Simply because we look at, there doesn't appear to be forced entry. I know you looked at the house, but that's not unusual when you think of how often I can tell you there's sometimes I've woken up in the morning, went to take the trash out, and I realized, holy cow, my garage door's open. You know, and I'm pretty security conscious. I've got my security cameras. So what's the probability that Nancy went to bed that night, like any other night, came home from her kids, maybe a little tired because she's 84, goes to sleep and just didn't lock a door? That's the opportunistic nature of a targeted abduction. Look, when I used to do search warrants with our tactical team and stuff, I said, don't kick down the door just because you can. Try the door. Most of the time, Brian, the door was open. You didn't even have to kick it down. You could just walk in. You didn't have to kick the door. And so in this case, I'm thinking that I would have to examine the possibility, was a door open? And if so, that makes the issue of targeted abduction much easier to rationalize, because at some point, again, your behavior, you don't get better under stress. You know, people don't shoot better under stress. People don't drive better under stress. People don't talk better under stress. So you have a fight or flight syndrome. So that person, if he was truly a burglar and they're only to take stuff, I would expect to see signs of theft, signs of burglary, not a staged crime scene. If it was a staged crime scene, Brian, I will tell you right now, my belief then I would be leaning very heavily towards targeted abduction.
Yeah, I've always struggled with if it was a burglary gone bad, why they would go through all the trouble to take Nancy away. Why wouldn't you just freak out and leave, And I've heard two different things from different detectives that not involved in the case, but just, former detectives who have said, some have said, oh, you would definitely just leave the body. You'd want to get away as quickly as possible. Others have said, oh, you'd want to take the body to get rid of the evidence. But I don't know. You're shaking your head. That never really made sense to me.
Now, I'll tell you, I had the chance to be trained by one of the original members of the FBI's behavioral science unit, a guy named William T. Peters. I went through the course. And human behavior is actually fairly predictable. I'll give you a good example. When you look at terrorism cases and what terrorists do, I remember I used to work with this New Scotland Yard, the Counterterrorism Command, SO-15. Two of my friends were involved in the 7705 train bombings and bus bombings in London. And those terrorists did the exact same thing the terrorists at Mumbai did, Lashkar-e-Taiba, the same thing that the 9/11 hijackers did. Broad target selections, initial reconnaissance, final target selection, rehearsals, actions on the objective, escape and exploitation, escape and evasion. People go through these steps the same way. So that's why when we'll talk later too about there's a date that the FBI is interested in, there's a chance, a lot of these folks that are there to do certain kinds of crimes will reconnaissance a neighborhood, and they'll do it during the day. They'll do it when there's it's not unusual to see a car, drive around but it's unusual to see a car at 2:00 in the morning drive through in an area that's normally quiet. So human behavior is predictable. And so I don't lean towards a burglar, even though they're armed, would decide that violence in the home, it's less risky to take the body than it is to flee. Why? Because the minute you do that, Brian, you've increased your risk. This is why when they look at serial offenders, when they looked at serial killers like Gary Ridgway, actually a friend of mine, Dave Reichert, was the lead investigator on the Green River killers. And they only go out a certain distance. That's why when you start looking at bodies, for example, Long Island, Gilgo Beach, Rex Sherman, you start looking at bodies and where they're placed. There's a thing called distance decay. You only go so far before that risk goes way up, too far up, that it's too risky for that person. And so they start bringing it back in. That's the max distance they're going to go out. And so in this case, I look at human behavior and say, what happens under stress? It's fight or flight. That is the natural instinct we have. And that goes back to when we were cavemen and you got saber-toothed tigers. It's like, is that thing going to eat me or is it going to stomp me?
Airbnb,
I'm not going to stick around to find out. I'm going to leave. We can trace back how criminals act back to how we acted back when we were cavemen.
Hey, this is crazy. So when I did Google Trends, and I know I keep saying this, I probably seem like a 5-year-old, but when I did Google Trends, does Nancy Guthrie have CCTV? It came up on like 50 searches on January 12th. And again, take it for what it is, but I don't know. I keep acting like that's like my claim to fame with Google Trends. I know it's so like basic elementary, but just wanted to bring that one up.
So if it's a targeted abduction, and I tend to agree with you about the TMZ letters, I just don't think they ever really made sense, and there was never proof of life from what we know, and there was never a real way to make contact or send real money. But if it was a targeted abduction, then what was the motive?
See, that's the part where the sheriff says they think they figured out the motive, which tells me, well, look, one thing I tell people I approach this. I learned a long time ago, Elon Musk is really smart. Elon Musk is also really rich because he's really smart. And when he found out a better way to build batteries, which was the use of first principles, deconstruct it, decompose it down to its structural elements, then rebuild it. So that's what I do with cases. It doesn't matter what you believe. It matters what must be true. Sorry. For the sheriff's statement to be accurate, what must be true? They must have had information or evidence inside the house that indicated that this was a targeted abduction.
Who's that?
Or they
Monday, this guy's name dropping?
Later that indicated this was targeted.
Yeah, Elon Musk. Yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah. This guy and that guy.
This is a hypothesis. If it's a targeted abduction, then what explains the lack of true communication? One hypothesis you test is that.
I was talking to Inspector Gadget, and he gave me the lay of the land on the whole case, Inspector Gadget. All right, sorry. Trying to be funny.
The victim died. There's nothing left to ransom. I mean, you might think people go, well, you would do like the TMZ. No, look, you reach a certain point to where that every time you have a contact with law enforcement, you increase the risk. You increase the risk of detection.
We're going to do it.
It has been decades since somebody truly got away with kidnapping it upside down. That's what the road plan looks like out there. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason. So you either need a navigation app or you have to have knowledge of that area.
Oh, for sure.
And the other thing too is
he's awesome. You got a great heart, JLR.
Too, it was about the egress analysis.
This guy's still talking?
By the way, what you did with that.
Christ, he's like a crazy uncle on Thanksgiving.
I'll tie it back to something the FBI did, the missing kids. The FBI, and this is something I got involved with 24 years ago. This was actually part of the work I was doing inside the intelligence community right after 9/11 because I looked at what the FBI was doing with the highway. It's called the highway serial.
This is when you found Bin Laden, Dahmer, and Gacy all in the same time.
Major interstates, major routes. And so some of these ended up being then people involved in trucking, long haul trucking. When you look at some of the missing kids, so for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the friend of mine retired from the Marshals, John Clark, he became the executive director. I mapped out all of his cases for him. They had never seen a map at that time. And you know what? A lot of those cases where the children went missing were near major highways, major thoroughfares. So when you look at this, one of the reasons they
were near major highways. Why do you think a major highway would give someone an advantage to abduct someone? Wow. You're ahead of your time.
Did it though, because they did not have local knowledge of the area. So when you kidnap somebody and you dump somebody, you're going to go off the road again, windthropping. Where would I go? What would I do? That body's going to be not that far off the road because what are you doing? You get back onto the interstate or you get back onto that major thoroughfare so that you can leave the area. This tells me when I look at everything that goes on around it and I look at how comfortable that person was, how comfortable they were staying in that area from 147 till no later than 228. That is a lot of time in this, the world of military, they go, that's a lot of time to be on the X. That guy was on the X for at least 40, if not 47 minutes. Because we know at 212, at least the sheriff's timeline, there's a sensor goes off inside the house, one of the cameras, 228. There's no ping between the Bluetooth pacemaker and the phone. But that's a 16-minute window. But Brian, that goes back to what I'm saying. If it was a burglary gone wrong and all you were in there with a burgle, think within 16 minutes, remember your behavior.
Terry, they Googled Nancy Guthrie CCTV security detail. I can email you the image. I don't want to show everyone the same things again. But
the car here, how do we get her loaded? Are we going to take her? What are we going to do with her? You have to figure all of that out in 16 minutes as opposed to somebody whose intent was a targeted abduction. They have that all worked out. That this is what they're prepared for. Same thing with the home invasion. Home invasion expect people to be there. That's why they come in armed. That's why they come in to do control. So to kind of circle right back to your point,
hold on, let's try to
I think we're looking for somebody. If they're not from the area, they have knowledge of the area. And last point here, I will tell you, this is how it works. When I was a detective, we had a series of bank robberies in our town. And
Terry, do you want to call in?
Investigative steps and informant.
I'd rather listen to like an actual someone that has actually been through something. Terry, whenever you want to call in, I'll send in the link. Hold on. Instead of listening to James Bond over here on all his missions that he's completed. I mean, this guy's like the James Bond. He's like the Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Andy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig all in one. I mean, this guy's every James Bond you can imagine how he's acting. Here's the StreamYard link. Yes, give him a sock. Waterboard him. No, I'm kidding. My stepbrother who passed away would say waterboard this guy.
We found out that our suspect had been convicted in Kansas, but was on what they call compact parole. He was compacted to the state of Georgia. As we found out, this conspiracy brought this guy from the state of Georgia back to Kansas to do the robberies. Everybody was familiar with the area. They knew the area, but it was somebody living in Georgia. Now, this guy went on to rob a couple banks in Georgia. During one of them, he attempted to carjack somebody, shot and killed him. He got the death penalty. And my person was a Supreme Court case, the state of Georgia versus Michael Nance. He avoided the death penalty that the Supreme Court ruled on because he said, look, I'm an IV drug abuser.
Look at Brian. Poor guy. Jesus.
not living there, but he was from there. He knew the area. So he knew once the bank was robbed, he knew how to drive. He knew where to go. He had knowledge,
That's
local
so great,
domain
John.
knowledge. And that's what you're looking for. So I'll bring it back around. There are more indicators than not that
This is like one of my best friends. You take him out to the bar and he talks to everyone next to him. And it was like a month ago. This older man walked up to me and he goes, "Does your friend ever shut up?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry." And I offered to pay for the guys like tacos. I'm like, "I'm sorry. This guy will talk to you until your eyes are rolling in the back of your head." And he doesn't care and he knows these people are the type of people that know you don't care. Like, look at Brian Enton. Brian Enton is like the nicest human being. But if you pick up on social cues and you see someone like this, like barely keeping their eyes open, time to zip it. You know, what was that? Austin Powers? Zip it. No, I'm kidding. Okay, sorry. Let's be serious here.
this person is familiar with that area and they don't live in that area, I would say that they were from that area and they've been up in those hills before, because that is not an easy thing to go up into that place at 2:00 in the morning and navigate.
I apologize, Mona.
43 days. And I went there every day to Nancy's house. And even in the end, I was still using my GPS to get out of the neighborhood at night, especially just because it was so dark. And I would even make wrong turns. I'm like, gosh, I've been here for over a month and I still can't figure out how to get to her house. Like it really is a very unique, and the ups and downs of the road. And it's so dark at night. Some of the houses look the same or are set off the street. So it would not be an easy place to get in and out of if you didn't know.
No.
Your Substack where you described the different ways to get away. Is there one that you think is probable here?
One of the great things too about being down there, I have some friends, and one of them was a former Tucson police officer, went to Arizona DPS. One of them, I think she's done some stuff on your network too, Sergeant Betsy Brentner Smith.
Yeah.
We've been all longtime friends, and they had local domain knowledge. They live in Marana, so we actually talked about that. And so if you were doing a targeted abduction or even leaving the scene,
Mona,
what are the chances? We looked at. Very unlikely that they would go north because of the mountains in that range, based on the way the person was dressed and their need to get back to their area of operations. They're like a marauder, what we call a marauder. A marauder is somebody who operates out of a fixed base, goes out, ranges out, but comes back after that. And so they act more like a marauder, which means a marauder has to have a location, a base of operations. Operations, we think, was.
We have Gen X on. Gen X, welcome everyone. She's got great intel. Subscribe to her channel. We love Gen X, the Gen X heretic. Okay.
More likely towards South Tucson. Why? Because of the way the person was dressed, the way they carried the pistol, that carry they call down there, it's called a Mexican carry. And for those folks who think that, oh, that guy's just an amateur, folks, I will tell you, you talk to Dave Smith down there, you talk to Betsy, there are police officers who've been killed by gang members who carried their gun exactly like that. Why? Because it was
Someone just emailed me that today. They said, look, it's called a Mexican. What did you call it?
A Mexican carry.
Someone just emailed me that today. Yeah. So what does that mean?
It just means that, look, when you've got all those clothing on, so it's like there are several ways you can carry a weapon. You can carry it in a holster, forward canted, but you have to reach back like this. There's things they call appendix carries. So you can carry it under your clothing like this, but it's right here in your appendix. So it's very easy to draw and pull out. But that's difficult to do when you're dressed like this person was. Like you say, when I was down there, Brian, the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is Tucson's, it gets hot during the summer, but during that time we were down there, it was.
Wait a minute. Tucson gets hot during the summer, but sometimes when the sun goes down, it can get a little cooler. Wow. What an impactful statement.
Cold at night. We had that rain that came in. It is cold. So this person is dressed up not only for disguise.
Wait, so when you're saying it rains, it gets cooler? So when it's precipitation, it gets cooler. God, I feel like I'm learning a lot from you. Wow. Thank you.
But because it's cold. So it means if you're going to access a weapon with gloves and everything else on, you're going to carry it on the outside. And that's the other big misnomer people made. They looked at that. They said, oh, we're looking for a white holster.
Oh, Terry,
they failed to understand how infrared works, passive infrared. Passive infrared doesn't reflect color. because it doesn't reflect, colors,
Infrared, we're talking
lights
infrared.
in wavelengths. So that holster was not white.
Infrared's been
That
around
holster was
since, like, the
actually dark
1960s.
colored. And those are the things you look at. And plus the mismatch of it too, Brian, people say, well, he was carrying a semi-automatic and a revolver.
Brian can't keep his eyes open.
So, I mean, that the only thing that proves is that he had a mismatched holster. It doesn't prove capability, doesn't prove intent, doesn't prove that wasn't intentional, that he didn't carry it that way. He may also have a revolver, and that's the one holster they have.
Okay, let's talk about something that actually matters when you're actually using a gun, the size of the handle. Okay, so most people, when they're purchasing a gun, if they're going to Cabela's or they're going to a gun store, they're usually going to get an overlarge gun. Most people, anywhere from 5'8" to 6'1", their hands are only a certain width, right, and a length. Well, you have to have a gun that fits your hand in order to accurately shoot. So this guy doesn't even talk about like the basics of firearms. Most people will buy a gun, like a lot of gangs that'll buy unrecognized guns will have a really large handle that are meant for like Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan's hands, right? Very inaccurate, very hard to shoot, trying to shoot it sideways. That handle, like if you have a Sig Sauer P226, you have to have, like me, right? I'm like a 5'10" male. I have to have a smaller handle to get the grip and to get the accuracy. But Inspector Gadget over here is not bringing up any of that. He's just talking like about what the suspect wore and the revolver. And I'm not hating on him, but Brian Enton seriously is ready to pass out and be like, he looks like, if you've seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's, like just trying to keep the guy up.
So, I mean, and actually a friend of mine is the senior director for Walmart for corporate security. I actually called and talked about the holster and the backpack and everything else. And it's like,
Walmart security now.
Well, Brian, and one other quick thing too, that backpack, a lot of people worried about buying it in Tucson, but Walmart is a global corporation. There are a lot of places right across the border called Walmart.
Wait, teacher, wait. Question for the professor. Walmart's in other states? I did not know that. I'm sorry. It's a global corporation? Oh, wow. Okay. Continue.
Where you can buy similar stuff at. So that was kind of hard to source. But when you bring it all together, I think that person is local. Next. They've got local knowledge. And if they don't live there, they're from there and they know the area. When you have gangs, like when you have the gangs that would invade and use, we'll talk about Wi-Fi jammers, but you'd have these South American gangs come in. Oh, yeah. They're a gang. They're great. You see 3 or 4 people operating. We only see one person for sure in this, but I think there has to be 2 because of the blood coming out to the curb and the vehicle leaving. But this person is comfortable. They're familiar. They were in no hurry because I think they weren't concerned about being caught.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
When you think about technology, like right when this happened, I mean, I just assumed it was going to get solved in a week, especially when President Trump started talking about it and Cash Patel. And I just thought, once you have the resources of the FBI and that kind of pressure, and I guess I just always had this, maybe it's not true, but this thought that that the FBI could kind of see anything if they really wanted to when it comes to geofencing and satellites. And I just thought there's no way they're not going to be able to figure out who this is, and then they got the pictures right away off of the Google Nest Cam, which the sheriff had said would be impossible. So do you think they've tapped into all that technology at this point and this person just got really lucky?
So that's an interesting question. So there's a couple things there to dive into. One is behavior. How does a person behave? How do they act? If this is somebody who has done this before.
Okay, we're done with the armchair quarterback. This guy, if this guy saw a guy with a knife wielding at him, he would like start crying in the fetal position. Sorry, it shouldn't be that mean. But I mean, this guy just name dropping different people, like the name dropping. I can see that coming a mile away, right? Like, when you profile somebody, like in the characteristics of who they are, you have like the one-uppers, you have people that name drop. Like when you're name dropping as often as he was, and again, I respect the guy. He's on TV. He probably had a great career, whatever he did, whatever comic book he created. But name dropping is an insecurity. When Elon Musk, let's drop Elon Musk into this conversation. What the hell does Elon Musk have anything to do with it outside of for using Starlink, a Tesla, a spaceship that can land, a rocket that, which is impressive, a rocket that he orbits into space and it lands back into the launching pad. Okay. But why are we talking about Elon Musk here? You're just name dropping because his wife probably can't stand him, to be honest. That's just me. Sorry. Okay. Let's stay on task. Okay, here we go. You guys got to give me a little bit to prep for this. Wait 1 second. Okay. Share screen. All right, so basically let's just go over the first thing. Let's get us again, we've all seen this a billion times, but we need a point of reference. So in order to see the Airbnb map, we want to have a point of reference, right? Okay, so stay with me, please. Yeah, I'm really getting after it, sorry. Got like a 10-hour drive, so. Wait, hold on. I got to read this. Name dropping. He thinks he's so important and trying to convince everyone else. That's so true. Yeah. Hey, I know him, this guy, and that guy. Let's talk about the case. What are we talking about? All right. Oh God. All I know, if we're going to a steak dinner with that guy, you are paying the bill or I'm going to the restroom and I'm pulling an Irish exit. Okay. You should not have to suffer through that and have to pay the bill on that guy's tab. Do an Irish exit. Okay. Nancy Guthrie's place. We've all seen it a billion times, right? 5820 North Camino Escalante, right? Okay. FBI said 3 men who moved out might have been staging for surveillance of the abduction. Okay. Again, it's a theory. We're not saying this is a fact. This is not certain, but I went ahead and pulled up. Let me see if I still, it's got to load again. I'm sorry. Let me go to everything I saved. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so you get me on a kick. I was a troublemaker in school, so like you give me an inch, I'll take a mile. And I probably shouldn't have just went after that guy because Brian Eden is an unbelievable source. But Brian Eden was like, where's the My Pillow? Where's my pillow? Okay, so let's go on. If we're all up and we've survived that, has everybody survived what we just seen? Because if you haven't, I've paid people to help resuscitate you, and we have Narcan as well. So if you have to like actually bring you up from the dead after listening to that guy, just shoot me a call and I'll send emergency assistant your way. Okay. Wait, Terry said something. Ted, any chance of you reviewing the SUV pick? Yeah, I can. His steak would probably walk off the plate. Oh man. Okay, hold on. Let's get back in task. Okay, Airbnb. Here we go. Okay, I saved a bunch. Catalina Foothills. Here, and again, it might take some of you guys helping me out and writing these down, because what I noticed with Airbnb, we're not getting the addresses. Okay. So we know, it was a little bit since I looked at this. Just give me a second. We know Nancy Guthrie lives on the other side of North Campbell Avenue. Okay, hold on. Let me just make sure you see my screen. Does everybody see the screen? Yeah, I'm sure you can see it. Okay. Give me 1 second. North Campbell Avenue. Hold on. I even have to put in my my map for 1 second, just so we can get this dialed in exactly, because it doesn't let you do waypoints. 5820. I know it's to the west of North Campbell Avenue. Just give me 1 second. So we zoom out on my phone. North Campbell Avenue is right here. So we're like an inch out from here. Hold on 1 second. I had this set up, but then for some reason when I was playing all the different things we were playing, it kind of went north. Okay, there we go. North Camino Escalante. All right. We have Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood right here. Can everybody see that? Right here. This is the road. North Camino Escalante. Let me check the chat real quick because I don't have a lot of chats up. Can everybody see that? Okay, you can see that. Okay. So this is going to require us to do a little bit of searching. I didn't have enough time to try to connect all these dots. But, okay, now it doesn't even let you put like a waypoint because you got to integrate this with Google Earth. I got to meet someone that can do this. But now we're looking at the homes that are renting. Campbell Avenue. She's to the left right here. Okay. Can you see? I got to ask one more question. Can you see my fist? The Airbnb fist. Can you see that going over North Campbell? That's very important. I need to know. If you can, that would be wonderful. It would make this so much easier. Oh, beautiful. You see the pointer. Okay. We have progress here. Okay. North Campbell. Okay. She lives. Okay. The Escalante, which I just showed. I'll probably lose it again. Here's North Camino Escalante. There's this road, right? Now what we need to do is I looked up all the people that are renting as of March 19th. So this place is up for sale. That is for rent. Okay. So we have a place in the foothold. Now this is monthly. Don't look at the monthly like it's $4,500 because this is March 19th through April 30th. This is more. I could change this. Give me a second. Let's change this to the 19th and get a real gauge of how much it would be monthly. But I need everyone to look this up. Okay, hang on. Let's zoom out. Okay, well, maybe it's an expensive neighborhood. Okay, so this is the one. If you can see, I highlighted it. So I'm going to write this down. Condo in the foothills. Okay. Now what we have to do, because I didn't have enough time, Airbnb is not going to show you, okay, the photos of this. Okay. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go to Google. And this is what I wanted to do, but I was working during the day. And maybe on the next one, condo. What did this say? And if someone wants to hop on and help, please. Condo in the foothills. So I'm going to Google condo because it won't give you the address on the foothills. Okay. Condo. Oh, because I'm in Madison, Wisconsin right now. It thinks I'm in Madison. Hold on. We got to find the address. 1 second. Hold on. This is where I could have used a little bit more time. Wait, 1 second. 1 second. Sorry. So we have Foothills, Catalino, Land Condo. Let's go over here. Can you guys see this page? No, you can't. Of course you can't because hold on a second, please. I know we can get there. I know we can do this as a team. It's just going to take teamwork because I have a job during the day. So it's tough to go one by one because I'm in sales. They expect sales 24/7. So this is condos in the foothills. So we have to figure out. So there's 5 condos for rent that, you know, according to the FBI, which again, this is just a theory, that 3 men lived at, and then they abruptly left. Well, we went to the Airbnbs and we went to all the rental sites and we found 5 condos. The issue that we're running into is it is not allowing us to have the address of the condos. Okay. So what we need to do as a team, or I can do it myself, I I have a busy week coming up. Unfortunately, I have to work like a sales event on the weekend where I would already have this done. So condo in the foothills, if somebody can find that address, so then we can go on Google Earth and look at the parking lot of it as of 2025. I think that would be beneficial. So my challenge for everyone in the chat tonight is how do we, and there's 5 of them. This could just be one. Condo in the foothills. Is that even the name? Foothills Catalina Condo. How do we find this location? Okay, wait, let's go through photos. Can everybody see that? Yep, okay, good. Okay, you can see it. How do we get this address? Because I want to look outside. 1 second. So I even created an account. They would not give me the address, but we know in the general vicinity where it's at. 6 guests, 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, hosted by Daniel. Obviously, we don't want to scare that guy. Foothills Getaway. So do you think they're hiding the name of this? Yeah, right? This isn't... So we basically need to find this house. So this is what I'm struggling with, and this is where I need your help. So I don't want to bore you guys on the show. Let's go back for a minute. Okay, so we have one. I start all of them. So North Campbell Avenue. So when you see North Campbell Avenue and you see Shadow Hills, Nancy Guthrie's right here, okay? So when you think of like the perpetrator, here we have the rentals, okay? Now, I'm probably not going to go after like the $8,000 rental, right? $8,000 is, I don't know. That's a lot of money. But for example, right here, Violet's Guest House. How do we zoom in? Wait, here, hold on. I'm just trying to get the cross streets here. What is this? So it says Casa. Okay, wait. So I'm going to write this down. And again, this is going to be a little bit of pain watching this. This is not going to be as exciting as, someone else's channel. We're doing homework here, okay? This is like we're trying to figure out a quiz. So, I didn't have the time to do this, or I would if I had obviously if my full-time job was YouTube, I would dedicate my entire life to this. I'm doing this where I kind of need a little bit of help too. So we're right here. So this is what is this? Cold Burger. Okay, so North Paso del Norte. I'm going to write that down. So I'm going to do one. And again, I don't want to bore everyone. I'm more than happy to do this on Sunday. I'll have downtime on Sunday. I got to work this whole weekend. So let's just try for a second. This is going to be tricky because do you think Google Earth will let us go around this? Let's go to Google Earth. Let's type in North, what did I say? Paso del Norte. Sounds like an amazing sandwich. Okay. Here we are. Oh my God, guys, holy shit. Holy shit, guys. Wait, guys, this is crazy. I'm not trying to oversell anything here. Look how freaking weird this is. Watch this. Watch this right now. Wait, Google Earth. Guys, what do you notice here? Ready? Let me see if it's on the screen. And maybe I'm being overreactive and tell me. Okay? Ready? North Paso del Norte. It is by her freaking church, St. Andrew Presbyterian Church. And maybe it's nothing. But what the hell is that? This is the church that the FBI said 4 days ago that they're looking into 2 suspects. 3 days ago, somebody called and said he's looking at suspects. Again, this is speculation. But what are the chances, right? Again, long shot. We're throwing Hail Marys here. But St. Andrews. Does everyone see that? The St. Andrews Church? I'm frozen. How about now? That's weird. Okay. And again, it might not even be the house. I might be crazy, but what are the chances the first Airbnb that we found that literally the people moved out is right by the church she attended? Again, that coincidental, whatever, 1% chance. I operate on everything's a 1% chance, right? If we knew it was 99%, we would. But okay, I'm like freaking out because, and again, maybe I'm like overreacting, but hold on. The freaking church is right here. The church that she's attended that they think maybe that knew her best. Now, again, trying to find this location without everyone just quitting the channel. This is where I need to do like behind the scenes work. Let's see what this is called. I'm going to put it back on my screen. I might have to pay for the more expensive version. 1 second. This is important. Let me see. Extra camera. See what you get. You probably get nothing with it. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Okay, we're going to go with the more expensive camera. I'm just going to do it. This is too crazy to not do it. Just 1 second. I have to update my card on file. I feel like we're really onto something here. Let me just switch out cards on StreamYard for my business card because I'll pay an extra $34 because I feel like this could be beneficial for us. Hold on a second. Something's up with this. Okay, I'm going to upgrade it. I don't even know what this does. Let's see what happens. We're upgrading it because we get an extra camera, so I don't have to keep turning off cameras and turning on cameras. Okay, beautiful. Return to dashboard. Do I have to go back in the freaking studio to do this? I hope not. Wait, hold on. Am I frozen? Wait. Okay, I'm going to go back into the new StreamYard. Wait, because we just paid for the new StreamYard. 1 second. This might get really weird, but I want to pay for that extra camera. It's only $20 more an extra a month, but we can see more stuff now. Okay, let's get in. Hello? Oh, God, I can hear myself. Hold on. That investigates. Okay, my frozen now. Sorry. 1 second. I got two of me. This is not good. I don't know what I did, guys. Hold on. Screw it. I'm going to add, okay, I'm going to add this person to stage. Okay. Now what the hell was I doing? 1 second. Okay, so we're here. We're right here. We're at Harrelson Elementary School. Okay. See, and this is where it's going to take time, but this is the time that we need to do. Now, Diana, I might have to remove you for a minute. And I apologize. Does that even work if I remove you? Okay. It's still blank. So it's the house across the church from across the street from the church. I upgraded so we can get 2 video cameras. I wanted to get Google Earth and I wanted to get the Airbnb and I wanted to be able to connect the dots on both of them. That's why I just upgraded what we were doing. So wait, let's just see. Oh, this will be impossible if I cannot get the right upgrade. Hold on. I'm really sorry about this, guys. So we want Google Earth. See, it says stop screen. Maybe if I remove myself off. Hold on. Because I have everything saved. Okay. All right. So I'm back on. So basically what I did is we're going to look at 5 places. The first place we looked at, Nancy Guthrie lives west of North Campbell Avenue. When you look at the BBB, or not BBB, the Better Business Bureau, when you look at the Airbnb for rent, you have a place that is positioned by the St. I think Andrews Presbyterian Church that the FBI was looking at 2 individuals. And again, I don't want to get those people in trouble. But so what I decided to do is if I upgrade so we can have 2 cameras, we can have the Google Earth and we can have the Airbnb because you can't integrate them. So then we can figure out, because Airbnb does not tell you the address, but if you have Google Earth, you can kind of align it together and we can work together like in sync together. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I mean, obviously my strength is not computers. So if anyone ever wants to hop on and help out with computers, but I think Deanna is doing, oh, okay. She did it. Okay. Thank you very much. You're the best. I appreciate it. I just added another camera so we could try to match some of this stuff. Okay. Deanna's always helping. I had to take a call. She logged on so the stream could continue. She's like the co-host of the show. Okay, so let's get down to business now. Now, we're going to go to Google Earth. That's one, right? Add it to the screen. Okay. Now, see, it says stop screen. It told, oh no, extra camera. Why is it showing me? This sucks. Oh no, okay. So this is just BS. It's just showing another, like, so I get, this is weird. Look, it's showing another me. I thought I could upgrade to get an extra camera, meaning like an extra video of what I'm looking at. All right, just hang on then. Just give me 1 second. I'll find it. Foothills, Catalina condo, land condo. Please just bear with me. Don't leave. I'm going to find this. So look for, if anybody's with me right now that has a map open, look for the Tohono, CHUL Botanical Garden Galleries, okay? Or the Children's Museum at Tohono Chul. Okay, so I'm going to Google, let me see if I can copy this. I can't copy this. I have to write this down. Sorry, it's going to take a little bit of time here. You know what I can do, though? I can screenshot it to show you, and if somebody can help me, I'm going to screenshot it, and then I'll display it. And then if you can help me look at this. 1 second. I thought adding the second camera would allow me to show the Airbnb and Google Earth, but it just meant to show like another person who wants to join on. So you're more than welcome to join on. But this is what I'm trying to do, and this is why it might seem like I'm talking crazy here. I'm trying to use Google Earth to map out Airbnb because it doesn't integrate together. So let me see if this extra camera works with this. It doesn't. This is such a bullshit thing. That's why Dad's Gone Live gave me different streaming software. Okay, so somebody look up, if you can, or I can, I'm going to write it down. TOHONOCHUL Botanical Garden. This might be for another time too. You know, if you guys are tired, you know, if you give me a day, I'll be able to look up all these addresses. So Airbnb doesn't give you the address, which I didn't know that because I've never done an Airbnb. They give you where the place is at. So basically you have to do like the intersections or the crossroads. So basically what I did is like, hey, the 3 guys moved out. Well, the place is available for rent. Okay, so what are the places closest to Nancy? Okay, there's 5 places. So then I liked all those places, but it doesn't tell you the address of the places. So I thought by paying an extra $20, maybe we could have this camera up with Google Earth, and kind of like intertwine them. Beautiful, Dee Dee, wonderful. She got it. Okay, everybody. Now I got to figure out how to, I'm going to write that down. Okay. Thank you so much for your help on that. I'm going to write this down. Again, this might take a little longer. And hey, if we don't want to do this tonight, if we're tired, I will make sure I get up in the morning and research this. I just did not have the time tonight, or I would be doing this. Because trying to find each address, you know, I drove to Madison. I drove like 6 hours. By the time I got here and unpacked and did everything and then prepped to make sure, you know, the show was going to start in an hour. And I'm like, well, how am I going to show a show when I don't even have these addresses? Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm going to search this now. So I just got 7366. Sorry, my back is killing me. Hold on. Oh, 7366 North Paseo del Norte. My back's killing me because I've been in a car for 6 hours too. I'm going to put that in. And this might be a whole project where I might have to get my buddy and we might have to get waypoints and integrate with a bunch of things. So this might take a little bit then tonight, you know, but we're on target to like check out this. Okay, here we go. Oh my God, we're getting to a rental place. Okay. What the heck is this? Now, I don't know how accurate the rental places are, though. So that's the question. What are we even looking at, right? Look at this. I still have to remove it. It's weird. I paid to add an extra camera. Okay. So I don't really know yet. And let's find out. What am I looking at? Okay. Looks like I'm looking at some type of, okay, condos. Okay. So I'm looking at, okay, so at least this kind of makes sense to me. 1 second. I had it written down and it disappeared because I have ADHD. Wait. Foothills. We're looking at this map. Wait here. Let me go back. You guys can't see my screen. We're looking at the Foothill Gateway. Okay. This is going to be tough to do this on a live stream without boring the shit out of you guys. I'm sorry. Hold on. This might have to be a behind the scenes thing where I do this first. This is a lot of deep dive. This is because, like, what am I looking at here? A residential golf course or like a park where people walk? We're trying to find condos, and it's right around here. Yeah, you're right, John. No, I know you guys aren't tired, but I feel like the trial and error behind this is going to be so tedious, and we'll definitely do it. And I have my other buddy, Jonathan, not JLR. Jonathan's my tech guy. This might, without sacrificing like the show and making it horrible for the viewers, because this is like, we have to do a real like deep dive into the data where I'm going to be doing a lot of like finding, not finding, not finding. And it's going to suck for you guys to view this because, like, for right now, we have a condo right here that I cannot find and we're boots on the ground. So right now, basically what we're looking at is we're looking at the botanical gardens. We're not looking at the Foothill condos. So I have to figure out how to get to the Foothill condos. And I don't want to waste your time because I know you guys have family and loved ones. And like right here, when let's just, for example, zoom out, right? I can't even see. Wait a minute. We have the church. I'm definitely going to do this behind the scenes because there's no way you guys are going to sit here and watch this. But because I'm going to be live on again in like 20 minutes. We can do question and answers. But so basically what I'm trying to do, and I think you guys know this, is we have the area of where the Airbnb is, but we don't have the address because the Airbnb, right? Look here. I'll show you what I'm talking about so you understand what I'm saying. So like I'm going to remove this from the stage, and then I'm going to add this to the stage. Wait, watch. And this really is on my end. This is not like your job to do. But like, for example, here we go. Do you guys see this? Let me put this on stage. Foothills Gateway, Catalina Mountain View. This is 3 miles away from, or 0.3 miles, a third of a mile from Nancy's place. They don't give me the address. Someone said, no thanks, unsubscribe. I'm just going to unsubscribe you. Have a nice night, Jacqueline. Ted, if you're going out there on Sunday, maybe you can check it then. Okay. That's what I'll do. So basically what I'm going to do is I found 5 to 6 condos that are all around her house that are available to rent. According to the FBI, these people have moved out. There are people looking to rent these condos again. We want to use the latest dates of 2025, the earliest dates of 2026 to figure out and to Google Earth and just do drive-bys on Google Earth to see if we see something. Does that make sense? No. It's extremely interesting. Here, watch. I'll zoom out for you so you understand what I'm talking about. Because I had to sign up for this. But again, this is going to be very boring. This is something I have to do on my back end. I can't put my viewers through this. So we have the Catalina foothills, and I'm just going to show you this real quick. I'm going to share the screen so you know what I'm trying to get at here, because we had that one person rudely say unsubscribe, even though this is very impactful. This is like the one thing that, you know, there's a couple things the FBI are looking at, and this is at least of the one thing of substance. You know, it's not me just standing outside a house going, Nancy Guthrie. Like we're trying to figure out stuff here. We're trying to use our brains, but that person obviously couldn't connect brain cells. So like, for example, right here, thank you. If Monday likes it, Monday knows cases. He's super smart. I mean, Rent, same. So, okay. Big Dreams finds this interesting. It's more on me by not having the prep work to do it. Rebecca, the white key I found at El Charo, but again, we're going to find it. Maybe it's here. But here, this is what I want to show you guys on the screen. So look here. The Catalina foothills, right? We have all these places for rent. Do you guys see this real quick so you don't think I'm boring everybody? I'm going to turn off the comments for a second. It's my fault. There's just not enough time in the day. I need to be full-time doing this, and I'm going to be boots on the ground. And when I am, we're going to have this full-time. But right now, you know, you have good resources like JLR and other ones that can dedicate more time. I wish I could. Oop, what did I do to myself? I just deleted the whole thing. Okay, I think I deleted it. But like, so you guys know where I'm getting at here. We are going literally to the vacation rentals in the Catalina foothills, right? And it's going to take a little bit of time. So basically what we're going to have to do is in the next day, I should have these addresses pinpointed, put them on Google Earth, check what the cars are parked in the parking lot, see what's going on, and I'll have that data for you. I got caught off guard right now. Interesting. Yep. Look for the white Kia. Okay. Okay, good. You know, again, I'm not trying to bore people. I got kind of caught in a conundrum because I have all the Airbnbs that are like hearted, which is favored. I created an account. The one thing that caught me off guard is right when I started the show, I didn't realize that Airbnbs don't give the address, which makes sense. Property owners don't want people to be there. So I need a good 5-6 hours of my own sleuthing to pinpoint the locations of it. And then I can give you guys each waypoint on Google Earth. So I'm going to end this right here. No. Airbnb. And we use all the different rental stuff. So I'm going to be back on in just a little bit on a question and answer thing. But this, I think, is pretty impactful. I'm going to get on this late tonight. I'm going to stay up after 10 after dark. We're going to figure this out. And then I have another person helping. So if anybody wants to go to the Catalina foothills, go west of North Campbell Avenue. That's where Camino Escalante is. And then search within a month. Don't do weekly rentals. Those are sky high. There's no way people are paying $8,000 a week. I mean, it could be, but like I'm just doing like month to month to 3 month to 6 month because then the price is $2,000 to $4,000. It's more manageable. I think if someone's attacking Nancy, are they spending $8,000 a week? They're probably successful at that point. They don't need the money. Yes. Oh, great idea. I'm going to do that too. Okay, everyone. Wait, hold on. Yep, John, exactly. An Airbnb I found in the area had a minimum 29-day stay. Okay, so I'm doing a month stay, and I have about 6 of them. But the issue is I'm going to be looking it up and doing the research at your expense while upgrading to StreamYard, while upgrading to know where the heck I'm going. And you know, it could be boring. Exactly. So it's going to be challenging. So give me until the next stream. I will have these mapped out. I'm going to call Jonathan, who's our software guy. Might take a little bit. I'm going to be on TED After Dark here in like 10 minutes. We can do question and answers. But this at least, again, this might not lead us to the villain, but that was weird. The first one I checked is right by the church, and sources said it could be church related. So we're getting somewhere. We may be getting nowhere, but at least it's something while we're waiting for anything. And, we can rack our brains and figure it out. Okay. Everyone, you have a good night. I'll be on in just a little bit. Yeah, definitely it's Scooby-Doo Incorporated. Yeah, this is not... Hey, if you're looking for a CIA operation, you went to the wrong channel. We're trying our best. We're rubbing a couple brain cells together, and we're figuring this out. But we'll hit it. If we hit it, we hit it. So, again, let me break it down for you. Airbnbs don't give addresses. I upgraded StreamYard so I could get another camera so I could use Google Earth plus the StreamYard map, and then I could go coincide and figure it out quicker. Unfortunately, the extra camera that I just paid for is like an extra camera of myself. The last thing we want to see is two of me. We want to see the Airbnb rentals that are a 3-4 mile radius around Nancy's house. I have 6 of them that are hearted. There's other ones too. So what we want to do is find the cross streets and the addresses of those. And then we want to do a street level Google cam of Google Earth and search them. That's what I'm going to be doing after my show. And that's what my software buddy, who does this just for fun, he's a construction worker, but he does it for fun, he'll help me with. So the next stream that you see that's not TED After Dark will have the waypoints and will have the exact addresses. The one thing that I found really compelling was the first intersection I looked up was the rental that was right across the street from the church she was at. Now, again, that could be a nothing burger, right? But, I just thought that was weird. Like, what the heck? So, whatever. I would buy into that 1%. But that at least shows that we need to do this exercise and maybe we can stick out, more than some of the other crime channels is all I'm trying to freaking say. Okay. I'm doing the show very soon. I'm going to be in Tucson next week, and it's probably going to be 200 degrees. Thank you, Rebecca. Dude, I love Scooby-Doo. Yeah, you can Google. Well, if you Google Nancy Guthrie's house, I don't even think you can Google it on the 31st. There's nothing there. There's no cars. There's nothing. We did that a million times, and we did Google Trends too. All the search data. We did hundreds of search data. And I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, like, this is impactful because we're looking at 6 different locations that we didn't have. Then maybe we can look at cars, like when I went in El Charro and we saw a Kia. Again, this could be a big nothing burger. This could lead to nothing. But this gives me some substance to work with when the FBI is saying that these people could have staged that house to plan the kidnapping out of revenge or ransom. Yep, I looked up the home for rent exactly. Yeah, hey, I know Michael Jordan. I know, yeah, funny. Houses for sale, that would be smart. Scooby-Doo. Right, and the church is right by the rental place. Again, that's 1%, whatever. That's like the Bears winning a Super Bowl, right? That's a shot in the dark. But we got to investigate it. It's better than listening to that one guy name drop everybody he knows. What is he going to talk about? Top Gun 3 with Tom Cruise? I mean, come on, I'm going to be on as soon as I hop off. I'm just going to be more in like okay, you'll be on tonight. Yes, I'm meeting up in Tucson. So I have family in Arizona. We have cars. I'm going to drive out there. I'm going to knock on doors. I want to meet locals at bars because I feel like there's enough in front of Nancy's house. I want to like network with people and you know, honestly, like to be honest with you, it might not get anywhere. And I don't want to get views just because I'm out in Tucson. You know, big deal. I want to find substance. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I want to like do something. I want to find something interesting. I don't want to sit out there. If I sit in a tent for 40 days, I'm going to play beer pong and I'm going to like start playing cards. Like that's just not me. I have to be moving. Yeah, I grew up watching Scooby-Doo too. Thank you so much, everybody. You guys have a wonderful Thursday. And guess what? Tomorrow is Friday, even though I got to work this weekend. Yes, boots on the ground. Thank you, everyone. Thank God it better cool down. But again, being Italian, I can deal with the hot weather. My son's like lighter complexion, so he would get burned. But let's see what Untamable said. That's why I said skip to 26, Mark Ted. I can't believe you played the whole thing. I know we suffered. We suffered on the cross. No, not on the cross. Shouldn't say that. We suffered. I mean, it was like waterboarding. It was horrible. It was like watching Justin Fields when he played for the Bears, trying to find an open receiver with his first read. All right, everyone. I'll see you on the next show. Sorry I didn't have this dialed in. Let's kick Scooby-Doo style. Love you all. Safe night.